Well, everybody, I'm just here to get this thing started really quick, but John is the star of the show. This is John's third year coming back to VetSecCon to run resumes and refreshments. And I can directly attest to the help that this workshop provides. So if you're here, pull up your resume, toss it in the Discord when John calls for them. But John, you're working over at Google now, right?
Yes, this is my third week at Mandiant / Google Public Sector / Google Cloud.
Awesome. Well, congratulations. Let's see. John was 10 and a half years in the Army as a SIGINT analyst, over 23 years in the field with 13 in cyber. Worked in cyber threat intelligence, counterintelligence, teaching, GRC, holds a crap ton of certifications, and gives back to the community in various ways. VetSec, B-Sides, the Diana Initiative, and Women in Cyber. So thank you so much, John, again, for coming back. And again, for this workshop, I can personally attest to the help. Leslie Carhart and John tore apart my resume last year a bit. And I retired from the Navy this year in May and got a job right away. So I can directly attest to the help that this has provided. So I'll be around in the hop-in chat to help out and on the Discord. So if anybody needs anything, give us a shout out. And again, thank you so much for coming to VetSecCon. I'll leave it with you, John.
Thanks, Tom. I appreciate that. I will try to keep an eye on everything. There's a lot of windows open on my end. So I am John Stoner. I am the second John Stoner that works at Google. One of us has a mohawk and one of us does not. I actually managed to meet the other John Stoner in person finally at MWise this year, so I was pretty excited about that. I got a selfie with him. I'm trying to share my slides. Give me 1 second so I can share the right window. Oh, nope. Hold on 1 sec. All right. That should be good. If you don't have the link, I will mostly be focused on Discord. I know there's the hop-in chat here. We already have a number of people who are interested in getting their resumes looked at. So this is to help all of you. So I'm going to spend maybe like 20, 25 minutes on just a handful of slides. I have even less slides than last year. I don't want to spend a lot of time on slides. I do want to cover a couple different things. And if you're not on Discord and it's easier for you to like email a resume, that is my email right here. The best place to try to do it will be on Discord. If you want me to try to look at your resume, I suggest you take like your contact information and address off of it, because this is going to eventually be on YouTube. So I keep that in mind. So I am here not as HR. I'm not a recruiter. I don't work in recruiting. I don't work in the HR department. I have extensive experience as a hiring manager. In the last 18 months in my previous job at Booz Allen Hamilton, I looked at over 100 and I conducted over 112 interviews. And I know that because I had to look that number out for performance goals. So I conducted over 112 interviews, external and internal employees at Booz Allen, and we sent out over 40 offer letters, and we hired about 35 people. So I'm approaching this from someone who's been a hiring manager as a contractor and a hiring manager and decision maker as a federal civilian at a DoD agency as well. So that is my perspective on all of this. I am tied in to a lot of recruiters. I do a lot of things in cyber career villages as well, although technically it's not the focus of my job all the time. So just for a little bit more on that. And then we're going to dive right in, hopefully. Hopefully we're going to dive right in if my computer wants to work. Okay, so this is what I'm going to try to cover today. I also made the slides available in Discord. So I shared this link earlier today. So all of these slides are available. The last couple of slides have links to other resources. I help out with the Diana Initiative. I've been running their career village for a number of years. So we have, links to the stuff that we make available for that as well. So anyway, if you need the slides, they're in Discord. If we need to copy that link over here into the hop-in, I'm sure we can do that again. The first rule of resumes is there are no rules. You are going to get advice that is contradictory to each other. I am probably going to tell you something today where someone has told you to do something different. Everybody's going to approach this with what has worked for them, what they see working in their industry, in their sector. I am looking at this from what I look for in the resume to make a decision on whether I want to talk to someone, right? As a hiring manager, right? I get a resume or I get a bunch of resumes. Hey, do you want to talk to this person for this position you have open, right? And then I make a decision normally in 30 to 60 seconds of whether I want to interview that person. And then my MO is to have the resume up when I'm conducting the interview. So that's how I do things. So again, keep that in mind. If you hear me say something, you've got conflicting advice, at the end of the day, this is your resume and you own it. So if my slides, okay, we'll do that. So here's some high level basic rules. And if you're in like the VetSec, if you're a veteran of any description and you're in VetSec, free to join. We have a Slack channel. You're going to also see sometimes people even give conflicting advice, even within the VetSec Slack channel. So I don't care how many years of work experience you have, your resume can't be more than 3 pages long. If you are applying for a federal position, we can have a different discussion about that. I actually have some YouTube videos up under the Diane Initiative where we talk to someone from CISA who there's some different rules, but generally speaking, 2 to 3 pages is the maximum that your resume should be. I have had someone when I was a federal civilian send in 15 and 20 page resumes, and that is not what we want, even on the federal side. That is not helpful. I know you're trying to beat the system and get past certain keywords in the ATS, the Applicant Tracking System. But when I get it as a hiring manager, if it's more than 4 pages, you already have an uphill battle for me to spend the 30 to 60 seconds to look at it to decide if I want to talk to you. I'm not a big fan of cover letters. You shouldn't have your photo on your resume. Right? Different rule for different industries. If you're an artist, a performer, right? Yes. We're cybersecurity, IT, right? I shouldn't have the photo on here. Your photo on LinkedIn should be a professional photo. I don't know how many of you are about to get out, thinking about getting out, just got out, and you still have a picture of you in uniform. Don't go get a picture of a professional against the wall somewhere in civilian clothes because you're looking for a civilian job, right? So when you're on the verge of getting out, change your LinkedIn, get a picture in professional dress for whatever you think message you want to convey, right? It could be a polo. It doesn't have to be a full suit. Again, that's up to you. When you're making your resume, we're highlighting impacts, all right? Your resume shouldn't read like a job posting. That's going to be something that's going to be really critical as we go through all of this. If the job requires a cover letter, please don't spend enormous amounts of time on the cover letter because they still probably aren't going to get read and really don't matter a whole lot. This also ties into the fact of how I'm going to suggest you write your resume in the templates that I suggest you use, because I and several other recruiters are still really big fans of a professional summary or an objective statement at the very top of your resume. So if your resume has an objective statement, 3 to 5 lines, mine's not a great example. I think mine's like 9 lines. Mine's too long. I don't need a cover letter because that's covered in that first part of my resume. So I don't think people should be spending a lot of time on cover letters unless it's required. And even if it is required, I would still keep it relatively brief unless you have specific instructions from the recruiter to do something different. This is the big one, tailoring your resume. So there's a lot of things that go into tailoring your resume. If you are in a position where you are applying to many jobs, right, you're actively in the market, you're actively getting out, you're transitioning from another job, you used to sell insurance, now you want to get into cybersecurity, right? You're about to retire, you're about to ETS from the military, you're applying to lots of jobs. You can't tailor your resume for every job you apply for because there's not enough time for that. You can at least tailor the resume for types of jobs, types of industries, types of sectors. So at no point should you be applying for jobs with a standard generic resume. If that describes you watching this right now, that is likely one of the reasons you're not getting a lot of traction or callbacks when you apply to jobs, because you have one very standard generic resume for whatever it is. It is a compilation of all of your skills, not tailored. The objective statement's not tailored. Your professional summary's not tailored. You use that same resume to apply to a DoD contracting position and the local and state governments and startups and everybody, and it's not tailored or specified at all. That is really probably the number one thing that hurts candidates. So you will always have better luck if you can tailor your resume to a specific job. So if you're mid-career or established and see a job that looks really interesting, or maybe you're starting to think it's time to move on and are applying selectively, then tailoring your resume to that job will have the greatest benefits. If that's not you, and you're applying for 10 or 20 jobs a week, right? You're very active. You should at least have different resumes for different potential roles. And again, you can have lots of different versions of your resume depending on your situation. Okay. Maybe you have one where you talk about how you really love coming into the office and you've always come into the office and being on site doesn't bother you. Maybe you bring that up on one of your resumes and you like have a folder on your computer, like in person, right? Maybe that's one way you can tailor it. Maybe there's another one where it's like, I really want hybrid roles. I've been successful at another job that's been hybrid, right? So since the COVID situation, lots of things you've done are hybrid. You can highlight how you've been successful in a hybrid environment. So when a job is hybrid, you can tailor your resume or have a version of your resume that at least highlights the fact that you've been successful in hybrid environments where you've been on site 2 or 3 days a week and remote 2 or 3 days a week. That even changing that little bit will resonate when it gets to the hiring manager, right? Because the hiring manager is trying to figure out, do I want to talk to you? And then when I'm in the interview, I probably have the resume up if they're good at their job. And there's lots of hiring managers that are not good at their job. But hopefully you get at least a semi-decent one who has the resume up. So I cannot stress that if you take nothing else away from this whole video and you're like, I don't know who this guy is with his mohawk and his weird name, it's just my name, sorry. You need to tailor your resume as much as you can for the specific job or role and or industry. If you are here and you are a veteran getting out of the military for the first time, this includes civilianizing your resume if you are applying to civilian sectors. If you're getting out and let's say you do some sort of IT or cyber job in the military and you're getting out, you're ETSing or you're retiring, and you're like, I'm going to stay in the Department of Defense contracting world, or I'm going to stay in government, or I'm really trying to get a federal position, right, a GS position, then you can probably not civilianize the resume as much because many of those terminologies and acronyms are going to carry over to that sector. But you can't use that same resume if you're also interested in moving back home to Michigan and applying to civilian cybersecurity jobs in Michigan that have nothing to do with the government or military or cyber command or anything like that, because they literally won't understand the resume and they will say, I don't want to talk to this person, right? They're not discriminating against you because you're military. They're discriminating because they have no idea what the fuck your resume means because it has all these weird military acronyms that nobody knows. Tailor your resume as much as you can. This is the number one thing. All right, that's enough. I've driven that point home. Keep an eye on my Discord. All right, oops. You can list your clearance. John's little rant, and I know a lot of people do this because I'm friends with you on LinkedIn. You list your clearance. You list your specific clearance on LinkedIn. Jesus Christ, people. Okay. You can say I'm cleared. I wouldn't list it on LinkedIn. You got to do what you got to do. Okay. I've had a clearance since I was 19. You definitely want to list it on your resume in the correct manner. Absolutely, it needs to be listed on the resume. Active, inactive, right? You briefly held a secret clearance for 2 years for some weird, obscure reason because you worked for a general. That's fine because it proves that you can get cleared. So I'm not a big fan of listing your clearance on LinkedIn. Not a big fan of that. But on your resume that you are sending out to recruiters and uploading into the systems, you can list it correctly. I would be as specific as possible. Active, inactive, what level of clearance do you have? A polygraph, what level of polygraph? Whatever information you are allowed to list, please list it. Please list it accurately on the resume, probably on page 1, because again, I'm normally only spending 30 to 60 seconds on your resume as the hiring manager to make a decision. And oftentimes the recruiters are only spending, if it gets to them, spending 30 to 60 seconds for them to decide whether they want to talk to you at all. Right? So normally by the time it gets to me, in some cases, there's already been a phone screen. In a lot of cases, there hasn't been yet. So again, you're trying to get you have maybe a minute or 2 in front of 2 or 3 people to decide if they're going to talk to you. And if that position requires a clearance, you want this clearly stated on page 1, probably at the very top or as part of your professional summary or objective statement. I'm trying to see if there's any questions. Yeah, if the cover letter is required, Chris, then you can make a cover letter. I just wouldn't spend 7 days making it because it probably doesn't really matter. And if you use a format I suggest, a lot of that cover letter, 1 or 2 of those paragraphs is probably going to be almost a cut and paste from your professional summary or objective statement. Don't spend a lot of time on your cover letter. So a lot of people are concerned about the applicant tracking system, the ATS system. This is an excellent podcast, and there's an article. So I highly recommend everybody read this and understand what is happening here behind the scenes when you're applying to a really large company, right? Like a Booz Allen Hamilton, Lockheed Martin, GDIT, Alphabet, Google, right? All these large companies are using this because they get so many applications, right? Like they're getting hundreds of thousands of applications. So when they list a job, they have some sort of an ATS system behind the scenes, because just at a real high level, that recruiter goes in, maybe the job's been posted for 3 or 4 days. The hiring manager's like, we need to fill this right away. So she goes to the system. She's like, hey, give me the top 10% or give me the top 3 highest scoring resumes. Let me take a look at them. So this is happening when you upload your resume. Well, one reason you're already going to score better on your resume is because you've tailored the resume, right? We may have talked about that. If you've tailored the resume based on the job or at least job type, that should help you score higher on the ATS. Okay, so when I was a federal civilian, a GS-14, making hiring decisions, I would get applications for a role we would have open for cyber threat intelligence, right, CTI analyst, where people hadn't read the job description. They just saw it was a 2210 job code series and applied, because I would get cases where 75 resumes were sent to me because they met the threshold. So they had to be sent to the hiring manager. And 70 of them had nothing to do with analysis of any capacity, right? I would just control find threat. And if the resume didn't have the word threat on it, I knew that they hadn't even read the listing. They just saw it was a GS-13 2210 position and applied. This is also happening in the civilian sector as well, especially given the market right now and the number of layoffs that keep happening, is that people are applying and they either really aren't carefully reading it or they didn't craft the resume. So if you are coming at this as, let's say, a newer person, sort of maybe not entry level, but junior, and you maybe work in a SOC, but are maybe interested in red team and have been doing a bunch of training for red teaming. But if your resume is only reflective of the things you did in the SOC, and I get this, and I'm hiring a new sort of entry-ish level red team pen tester person, I'm going to get that and be like, this person doesn't have any skills because you didn't craft that. But you still want a SOC version of your resume in case a better SOC position comes along or you get a layoff notice. So you still want a resume that's this is my SOC resume, highlighting all of my SOC skills and training. But you may need another version that, yes, some of it will be the same, but maybe you move training for red team and try hacking and CTFs to the top of the resume. You would change your objective statement of why I'm applying for this job, right? And then you can use that version for all of the junior red team jobs. Because then as the hiring manager, when I get it, I'll be like, oh, this person's worked in the SOC for 3 years, but really wants to be a red teamer. Now the whole resume has context and makes sense for me. And you're going to highlight certain things you wouldn't highlight if I were hiring for a SOC position, because I probably don't care that you know Callie and John the Ripper and have done all these CTS. That's probably not applicable to what I'm looking for as a SOC manager who's looking to hire a SOC analyst. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, so I got this from Kirsten Renner. She's probably the best technical recruiter that I've worked with. I work with a number of them. Most of them are very good. There's a whole handful of them that I really like. I really like Kirsten Renner. She's at Krenner. I think she's at the ISC Squared Congress right now with a whole bunch of other people. So the opening line of the top of your resume, your professional summary, your objective statement, I am a blank seeking a blank. If you do nothing else in terms of tailoring your resume, you would at least tailor the second portion of this sentence to be the thing you're applying for. So again, if you are only applying to 1 or 2 jobs, you're mid-career, you can tailor this as you tailor the resume for that job. If you're applying to lots of different positions, you can have versions of this, right? This is going to be the one. I am a SOC analyst with 4 years of experience looking to pivot into a red team or offensive-oriented cybersecurity role. Boom. That first line then gives me the background for both the recruiter and the hiring manager, so I understand the rest of the context of your resume and why you've applied for this role, especially if you are changing careers. Cybersecurity is a little bit different because people do change specializations and pivot quite a bit. You don't have to. Everybody's journey is very different in cybersecurity, but there are people who want to go and do lots of different things. So if you are, or maybe you're a red teamer now and you're like, yeah, this maybe isn't for me. Maybe I want to get into threat intel, right? So I am a junior red teamer with 2 years of experience looking to pivot into cyber threat intelligence related roles. And then that's your resume for anything related to sort of like CTI based work. Hopefully this is making sense. Yes, if you work in going back to a comment someone put in here, if you are cleared and working in an agency and it has a pre-publication requirement, you definitely need to go through pre-publication if that is applicable to you, if you're working at like FBI or NSA or something like that. I don't care whether you do first, second, third person. I think a lot of people spend too much time worrying about whether they're talking in first person or third person. I would just try to be consistent with throughout your resume. I think a lot of people focus on the wrong things, and I don't think whether it's first person or third person really matters at the end of the day. For Chris there in chat. So that's one example on the screen, right? Like this is from me, right? This is how I have mine set up. I put a couple other just like generic ones on here so you can kind of get a feel for what we're talking about, right? This doesn't have to be huge, but this would be at the top of your resume, right? So you have your contact information. I highly encourage people putting at least the town or city where you live. I know there's probably some conflicting information on that. You might be getting conflicting advice on that. The reason I say to include your location, because if you're the recruiter and you don't know where someone lives and the job requires them to be somewhere, they probably are just passing you over because that requires them to contact you to find out where you live. And they don't have time for that. So if you're open to relocation or assisted relocation, you can also include that as part of the final line of this summary. I am open to assisted relocation. If you're not open to assisted relocation, then you could put open to hybrid and or remote work. But I highly encourage people to put at least the city and town if you don't want to put your whole address on there. And please include your contact information. I have literally seen resumes before where they forgot to include like a cell phone number or email. This is why we also recommend having someone look at your resume. So these are just some other examples. Hopefully you've been reading them, right? The bottom one, Mr. Baker brings over 7 years of experience with 2 years focused in cybersecurity and is looking for an entry-level cybersecurity analyst role in the Dallas, Texas, or surrounding area. Boom. Then the whole rest of the resume makes sense to whether it's the recruiter or the hiring manager reading that. The link to the slides was posted earlier in Discord. If you scroll up, or I can try to scroll up and repost them. I will do that right now. That's okay, because now I can post them into Hopin as well. All right. Remember, there are no rules. 2 to 3 pages. You want to try to highlight impact, relevance, right? I did this thing. This thing resulted in X, right? So I supervised 10 people. We were able to support mission operations during a real world emergency situation, right? Even if it's that at least gives me some background, because then as the hiring manager, I might ask you about that, right? So it shouldn't be very generic. You always want to look at impact. And as we go through resumes, we're going to talk about this a lot. Please, for the love of God, do not exclude yourself from being hired by putting controversial shit on your resume. I still include this bit about sniper training because this person at VetSec could not understand why this might be something they don't want on their resume. Look, if you're applying to be the cybersecurity SOC manager down at Fort Bragg for JSOC, yeah, by all means include sniper training, because that hiring manager's probably like, oh shit, that guy's high speed. He was a sniper back in the day. If you're applying to be the cybersecurity SOC manager at like, I don't know, like a nonprofit in like Nebraska, is that relevant? Do you think that's going to have the same resonation? Right? So like, I mean, I would say please never include the fact maybe you were sniper certified unless you were applying like within the military circle of people who would understand that still, right? If you're applying for like the Department of Veterans Affairs, I don't think like it's not relevant. It's not relevant. And it's just going to like, what's the first thing somebody's going to say if they see that on the resume? I wonder how many people they killed. Please don't put anything political or religious on your resume, right? Please just don't, unless it's relevant. If you like volunteer at your Catholic church every Sunday and do a whole bunch of stuff for the Catholic church and you're like really big into that and you're applying for like roles at religious organizations, then great, then it's relevant. Like maybe then it's relevant. But unless it's that very specific use case, you are potentially excluding yourself because the recruiter and certain hiring managers are going to look at something and be like, nah, I don't want to talk to that person. Right? And yeah, some of this is probably like illegal. There are plenty of hiring managers who have preferences and they will not talk to someone based on something they see on the resume, and they don't have to give a reason why. They'd be like, "No, I looked at that resume. Let's move on to the next candidate." Any questions here? I'm trying to take a look at the screens here. Okay. Certified bit slinger. Don't make stuff up either. Please do not make stuff up. Okay, here's another thing to not include on the resume. Thanks, Josh. You inspired a rant. Don't list the certification that you don't hold. If you're studying for CISSP, you could put studying CISSP anticipated exam date, March 2024. It is not going to end well for you. I have seen someone's offer been revoked for things they put on their resume which were made up. And I have literally been the hiring manager and during the interview asked about a certification, and it was CISSP both times, and they didn't actually hold CISSP. And that pretty much ended the interview right there. Now, for like education, it's much more common to put, right, pursuing my bachelor's of cybersecurity at UMUC, anticipated graduation date, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's okay. but just be very clear you don't hold that thing already. And I wouldn't say like I'm studying for CEH and I'm studying for Network Plus and I'm like, if you're going to do that for a technical certification, only do it once, because otherwise it just sounds like you're keyword stuffing the resume, which I'm not a big fan of as a hiring manager. Yeah, if you're in a degree, yes, absolutely. Projected graduation date is approximately blah, 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 right? Maybe project one cert, and like, not if it's like 6 months away. Like if you're like 90 days and like you have the exam scheduled or something, like sure. If your cert's expired, you can list them, but then you would put expired as well. Right, you can say previously GSEC cert, expired date, blah, blah, blah. There's nothing wrong with that either. Just be very clear. All right. I think we killed that tree, that horse. All right. Have someone review your resume. Like, this is what you need to graduate college. I mostly have hired in the last 18 months for cyber threat intel positions. A lot of that requires writing reports. If you don't have the same font on the resume you sent me for the job, what makes me think that I'm going to trust you to write a cybersecurity report at an agency? Different fonts, different font sizes. All of that stuff are things that can get you excluded from ever even talking to the hiring manager. So yeah, there are a lot of very technical, skilled people in this world, but the job market is very difficult as we speak today. You do not want to exclude yourself for any reason. And as a threat intel analyst who's written a lot of reports, I won't not interview someone, but I'll notice if some of their bullets are bullets and some of their bullets have periods. Like, I'm nitpicky like that because I've written a lot of reports. Like, did the bullet style change throughout the like resume? That's stuff that's like, now you got to overcome that if we're going to have an interview. And maybe you'll be amazing. But again, all of the formatting, does your GitHub link work? Does your LinkedIn link work? If you hyperlink your like email, does that work? Or if you've hyperlinked other stuff, is it still relevant? Make sure your email and phone number on your resume, seriously, or else you're just not going to get called back. They're not going to contact you. Again, I also strongly recommend that you include your city or town, if not your full address. I mean, you're listing your security clearance on here, but some people are like, I don't want to list my address. I mean, you want to make it easier for the recruiter. Have someone review this. I would have at least 2 people review your resume. I would have at least one person who doesn't know shit about cybersecurity. So normally that's like one of my parents, normally my mom. I was like, Mom, can you look at this resume? I was like, I know you won't understand all of the words, but just like look at it. Because then she doesn't get caught up on being like, well, actually you repeat like RMF here, right? She doesn't get caught up on the technical details. She can look at like the whole thing. And then I'll have like a technical person or someone that is more technical. Like, does any of this did I like phrase something really weird? All right, we're spending too long on slides. Your resume only gets you an interview. Your resume can't get you a job. That's not how it works. So like, stop trying to make it 47 pages. It's not your bibliography. I don't care what the fuck you did in 1993 at this point, because it's irrelevant. I want to know what you did in the last 5 years. We can shorten things up. There's strategies. You are trying to get an interview. The resume gets an interview. And really, the resume gets you to talk to a recruiter who hopefully then gives your resume to the hiring manager. You can't include everything on here. The last 5 to 7 years are the most critical. What's the biggest impact? Also, prepare for your interview. I normally know within the first 3 minutes of an interview whether I'm even going to consider this person. There have been about 2 times someone's turned it around from a pretty poor start. Practice your interview skill. Practice your opening. Maybe you don't have it memorized. Hey, Billy, thanks for coming in today. Why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself? If you go on, Jesus Christ, for 10 minutes, it's a no. That's a no from me, bro. Like, your interview opening, 30 seconds to 2 minutes, right? maybe tailored for the job, that's where you start to like really work on things, right? Hey, I'm really excited about this opportunity to interview for this entry-level red team position. As you can see on my resume, I have 3 years SOC experience, but the longer I've worked there and the more people I've talked to, like when I went to DEF CON and B-Side Northern Virginia and some of this other stuff, right? I was like, oh, hacking is where like I really get excited about. And that's why I've been doing those Try Hack Me classes that are listed on the top. And that's why I've done the CTFs. And that is a tailored intro to your tailored resume for that specific position. I'm trying to see if there's font on resume mismatching. Yeah, seriously. Okay, that's the slides. That's the slides. "35 minutes. I'm 10 minutes over on slides. Let me see. Just trying to make sure if there's any questions before we take like, I don't even know if I need a quick break. I have a quick break on here. Okay. So I have a number of people who've already submitted their resumes to looking at. So I'm going to try to go up in Discord and start with those because people started submitting their resumes at like 10 a.m. I was very surprised. All right. I will answer questions as we go along. So I have one from Douglas Kalani. He was the first person, and he says he has one that's geared towards, it looks like towards teaching. Bold and underlining. I mean, like, don't overdo it on bold. I'm sure we're gonna see some examples. Sorry, I got too many screens popping up. I'm sure we are gonna see some examples of resumes that do things that I probably don't want to see. This happens all the time. All right, sorry, I got to get my screen up here so we can share this. And if you send me a resume and you don't take off your PII, that's on you. You signed a waiver. I don't know if you really signed a waiver, but we're going to say you did. I gave you a warning. Okay. Here we go. Doug. All right. First things first. What do we not have, chat? What's not on here? We just talked about it. What are we missing? If Doug is in here, we could bring him in, but I don't know that Doug is actually like in here. Yeah. Where the fuck does Doug live, yo? Seriously, I'm going to swear too. Like, honestly, like, Doug, I don't know where you live, man. The position is hybrid. You've got to come into Reston twice a week. Do you live near Reston? Like, I have no idea. So, like, as the hiring manager, I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm Googling 412 area code to try to see if, like, there's any chance this person even lives near where I need to go. Okay. I like this. I like that. That's really good. So even though maybe I don't know where he lives, maybe I'm going to still talk to him. He has, I am a blank. He's got it. He has it. It's very long. It's a very long sentence, right? Doug, I am a cybersecurity professional with 15 years of experience that's done everything. Looking for a role as a, right? He doesn't have the second part of that intro. No. So if you're open to relocation, you say right here, open, I can't type, open to assisted relocation to Pennsylvania, Maryland, Virginia, and Alaska. Because now I don't have to ask any questions, right? You could put that right there at the end. You could say open to hybrid and remote roles near Dallas, Texas. Boom. The more you include on here and the less the recruiter and hiring manager have to figure out is good for you. All right. Doug, you're here. We were just saying, got to include a location. Highly recommend that. Don't know where you live. I like the idea of this sentence. It's a little lengthy. I am a blank seeking a blank. So that's where you'll tailor it. I think you were talking in Discord that you maybe have a couple different versions. So if this is the one you're sending out for this type of a job, right, then you include that in here. Probably shorten that up. We'll do it right now. We'll do it live, right? So again, I don't care. First, third person doesn't matter. You know, Mr. Name is a professional with 15 years in all right, go like that, 15 years and like looking for hybrid roles as a right, and that's the thing, like that's what you're applying to as a technical cybersecurity manager near Dallas, Texas. And then you could still include some of this stuff in here. That's fluff. We get rid of that. That's like absolute fluff. So we get rid of that. That's your new sentence. And then there's other things, right? This is all optional. This is like my recommendation. You could say, Mr. Name, an OSCP certified professional. Now, my problem with something like that is I don't know that that certification is applicable to the role you're applying to, right? So like, don't put that you're OSCP certified if it's not really relevant, if they're not looking for that. And then this is fine, but you've really like redundant, like there's a lot of redundancy here. Like you just had like some of this stuff is some of this stuff. Like you have this, but you have this. Like, I mean, we don't like if the keyword is in the resume one time, like it's good. Like that could be good if the job says that you're going to work with shareholders and board of directors. That'd be the only reason to include that. If the job you're applying to doesn't have anything about like this job is going to require you to interact with shareholders and board of directors, may not really be applicable. Because if like you're applying for some sort of like technical cybersecurity manager position and it's not doing any of that stuff, I don't know if that's useful. Because your resume is too long. A little bit. I really like to get 2 pages if we can. You also have a lot of spacing because you have like, this could probably all be like cut down. Obviously on a real one, send PDF if they'll take a PDF. You might have to upload a Word document or a Google document to like Workday or whatever they have. But always have a PDF, and then like you can email the recruiter the PDF. If you're going to the hiring calendar and you can see who else is on the calendar invite, you can email to make sure they have a PDF copy, little things like that. But that's not bad. But again, you're going to want to tailor this. Okay. So like I give this like, I mean, that's like a B+. That's actually pretty good, Doug. We're like doing very well so far today. Don't worry. I've seen some of the other ones. Okay. I don't like this. We were doing really good. So like this effectively collaborated with executive management. That's a good bullet. I like that. It's probably like a B+. Your bullet styles of like how you're forming a bull, like how you're putting it is different. You have this like scoping engagement colon and then another sentence here, but you don't do that anywhere else. So I would definitely say like you just want that, right? Collaborates with customers to precisely define the scope of penetration system. Okay. What we really want for the first one here is like your biggest impact for this role since you've been here, right? So like you just have like what you do, like proactive communication with customers and insightful insights. I have performed over 1 billion cyber penetration tests, saving my customers $5 trillion. Obviously, I'm being over dramatic. Like, I don't know how many penetration tests you've done. I don't know if you've done 6. I don't know if you've done 65. What size clients are you pen testing? Small businesses, medium businesses, large businesses, international businesses. I don't know any of that. If this is a pen tester one, right, looking for a role as a senior penetration tester, then I don't know your level of pen testing experience based on this, right? So I don't know like how many pen tests you've run independently as part of a team. You work independently, you're as part of a team. I don't know any of those answers to my questions as a hiring manager if I were looking at you for a pen test. And if this is your pen test resume, well, like, you're probably not collaborating with shareholders and board of directors. So like, there's a lot of room for improvement here. I think like the guts of this are okay. But like, you know, like I have found X vulnerabilities. Using custom red team malware. Are you emulating threat actors? I have so many questions about like what's happening that aren't answered here because this is super generic. This is a very generic. It's not specific. It doesn't have impact. Doug, you still with me? You writing notes? Okay. And then there's like this sentence is not really a sentence. Also is not really like a bullet. Like you can't this is your best bullet. Effectively collaborate. That's your best bullet on here because of the structure of that sentence. So like instructed over 750 students on topics such as X, Y, and Z. Passing rate of students for Pen Test Plus was over 75%, right? Stuff like that. Like conducted in-person, online training. I don't know. I don't know whether you did online training, in-person training. Did you make content? Was it existing content? Was there a website? Did you do podcasts? Did you do video? Was it real-time instruction? Was it recorded instruction? Did you create a handout? Did you create so I'm a former instructor, so like I would be very clear about what was included in that. And this section might be fairly brief, could be 2 to 3 lines if the job you're applying for isn't related to instruction. If it is related to instruction, right, then this is where we would tailor it. We would include more details, right? I used instructional system design principles, X, Y, and Z to ensure that my content was aligned, right? That's the kind of stuff that I would want in here if this were one that you were tailoring to some sort of an instructor role. Like that's it. Like you can include the link to the event, 6 hours. But like I spoke about the following topics. I just don't like how that is, right? And then you like have a bullet, but then you have like a number. Like you don't need that. Like you don't need that at all. That could go. All of that can go down here. And like your line breaks are very, like that also isn't work related. So like that probably ought to be like way down somewhere else under like other things, because that's not work. Oh, I think we caught something else there. Sorry. Like that would go down somewhere else. That's not work. And like your West Virginia keeps going to another line here. So this is the little stuff. Like that goes down to another line. See, like this is a good one. So you can't like how many people, where it was, like that's a good bullet. So like the stuff, you know how to write good bullets. You just need to do it for every bullet you're writing for every job as much as you can for impact. This is not bad. Now I don't have impact, but I get a lot of details here. So like international, like you've done a bunch of international stuff. Where in your beginning does it say international? International experience, NATO. Not until page 2, which I'm never going to look at, Doug. I'm never going to look at page 2. So you need to work, like, again, if you think that that's really critical and important relative to the jobs you're applying for, that stuff needs to come up to page 1. Like, Doug is a professional with 15 years of experience in the U.S. and working with international countries, including NATO allies, about threat mitigation policies, vulnerabilities. Oh, shit, this guy has international experience. He's worked with NATO. I know my sister department does some stuff with NATO, so like if we hired him, he might be an asset to them, even though it wasn't listed in here. But I'm only ever going to see that if it's on page 1. All right, 6 hour and 40 is where I got you. They're probably not going to click that link. I do this too. I link stuff that I've been in. Very rarely does anybody click that link though, but I see what you're doing. That's fine. This is not a good bullet. Was in charge of running projects. So like you have like really good individual bullets and you also have bullets that need a lot of work. So like every bullet on your resume, all right, this is important. It should read like a lawyer from Deloitte has written it in preparation of reading it in front of a judge. Utilizing zero trust protocols and security access governance and process improvements, I found vulnerabilities within the network. All right, so we're going to lawyer this, Deloitte lawyerize it. Right, so that part of the sentence, good. To find, we could say, we could just do vulnerabilities, that's fine. To find vulnerabilities that resulted in clients having reduced cyber security risks or something like the impact. Like we found vulnerabilities, great. We're finding vulnerabilities all the damn time, everywhere, every network, anybody's ever been on, we find vulnerabilities. Like how we work with the client to remediate vulnerabilities, we prioritize them, we showed them the CISA known exploited vulnerabilities list so they could prioritize patching. Like if you're just like, here's some vulnerabilities, here you go. Please send me 10 grand. It's not very helpful, right? Okay. This is fine. Although I would like somehow maybe call out. This is always a thing, like because we have so many certifications and education listed. I mean, maybe you bold this one just to make sure people understand that that's like the degree versus the certifications. That's kind of minor in the scheme of things. Doug, you have any final questions before I move on? Let me give Doug a minute. What are you guys drinking? Somebody said they had Monsters earlier. What flavor? Bourbon. I didn't even know Monster made a bourbon flavor. That's dangerous. Diet Coke or Coke Zero? Because I drink a lot of Coke Zero, but I don't drink Diet Coke. I don't know. Coke Zero tastes pretty good. I don't know about Diet Coke, though. All right, Doug, I'm not seeing any questions. Doug, I feel you know, based on what we went over, how you can make this resume very impactful. Very impactful. You have some of the bullets written here in your resume. They're just outnumbered by the bullets that could be improved. All right. Any other questions before I pull up the next resume? Any questions anybody has? I need to close that window. We got Thomas. I don't know if all these people are in here, but we're still gonna at least give them a quick. That's the next one I see. Thomas, are you actually here? Tom's in Discord. Okay, perfect. If you guys see me looking off camera, it's because I have way too many windows open and I'm trying to see what's going on everywhere. All right. No, I never have. Funny story time. I sent my resume to Google. I did not get my interview because I sent my resume to Google. It's because I knew someone on the team. I work with someone I know now. And there was an internal referral. But I sent my resume in. Hiring manager, who's going to be my boss, is trying to understand why when he brings it up in his Mac PDF viewer, there's someone else's name on the file name. For the life of me, I do not understand how the file name got corrupted. I went back. I opened it up in Chrome. It was fine, but in like the Mac PDF viewer, it literally had someone else's metadata on there. My own resume that I created from a template that was mine. Very bizarre. So yeah, it was weird. But no, I don't really look at stuff like that as a hiring manager. Again, mostly because I don't have time. I mean, if there was something weird about it and like I had some time, maybe I would treat it almost like an investigation. But no, I'm not looking at how many times it was updated and stuff like that. I certainly am not. Could you run into someone that does that? I mean, it's possible. Anything is possible. Yeah, Google's going to be hard. I think there's all sorts of reasons for that. But yes, hopefully this can help you. Okay, I don't know what's going on here, Tom, in the top right here with just put stuff on different lines. I don't know. I'm confused by like this. You also seem to have a table. Tables are bad in a lot of cases because it messes up the ATS. So like if you upload this and like the ATS is like, what's your LinkedIn? And you're like, it's on the resume. It's probably just not parsing it correctly and you're just getting mad. Also, what is this? All right, chat. When you see Blood Vault, what's your first thought? Blood Vault equals blank. This is a chat interactive session now. I just want to know. Vampires. Correct, Jonathan. Correct. Jonathan, you'll get $1 free Grubhub if you email me in 2025. I send you that code. So I don't know what that is, Thomas, but like rename that shit. Okay, so that's the first thing. Did you know that this is going to shock people. This is going to shock people. Okay. Every single person I've ever gotten a resume is highly motivated. Did you know that? 100% of the time, 100% of the time, highly motivated. Now, I'm not saying you should be like, I want to do as little work as possible for as much money as possible. I wouldn't write that out. But like that isn't actually doing anything for you. Those words, not helpful. Not helpful words. Because everybody says that. I'm a great communicator. I'm highly motivated. I'm eager to learn. Like, I am an NSA certified red team operator. Oh shit. Who's a vampire? Okay, right? With X years of experience, looking for a role as blank, right? Whatever you're applying for, right? I'm an NSA certified red teamer. Okay, I don't know how many people could say that. Not that many. Right, so that's your intro, because you know what? The recruiter's calling you now. Now the recruiter's calling you. So I would potentially bold that, or also, again, I'm not a big fan of duplicating a lot of things, but this is important. Like, as this is kind of just like word salad here of things. You just have things. So you can have like experienced with, yeah, the whole sentence. We're getting rid of that. Experience with innovative tools and detection engineering. All that's out. All of that can go goodbye. All right. I don't want to like actually get rid of it right now since it's so way you guys can still kind of see what's happening. This table is a mess. This table is a mess, Thomas. Okay. I would sectionize this maybe. Now, my preference is I don't like skilled tables and charts and things like that. This isn't by far like this is fine. You haven't tried to list like 47 different things. I don't look at this and immediately think keyword stuffing, but I would make certifications and education an actual like you have summary. I would do it like that, and then maybe have like skills and programming languages as a separate thing, because it's just not the easiest thing for me to read very quickly. Again, hiring manager, recruiter, 30 seconds, maybe a minute, oftentimes like 15 seconds. This is why you're probably getting called. If the job you applied for is all related, DoD, contracting, federal, you're probably at least getting a call from a recruiter as long as like some of the other stuff matches. I'm just going to move down here. All right. What do we got here? Developed a realistic network defense scenario meeting 15 learning objectives. Okay, I was very confused for a moment because it says I'm an NSA certified red team operator, and then this says cyber tactics instructor, which is not the same thing. So I am a cyber tactics instructor and an NSA certified red teamer. Again, that's me. That just confused me for a moment. Maybe it won't confuse people who are vampires. I really like this. It's a little bit long. I'm a big fan of like two lines, but that's good. I like that. These are good bullets because they have like the verb, right? I developed, I evaluated, I taught, I designed. 100% pass rate. That's like a CompTIA test. This is good. I really like the individual bullets. I think perhaps how many pages do we have? Okay, that's fine. We could definitely get this all onto 2 pages anyway. This could be a 2-pager. This should be a 2-pager. You can also just like, your name doesn't need to be 22 font. You can also probably make everything 11. Old people can just zoom in. I would say maybe where you were going wrong is not tailoring it to a specific job, right? So like you probably will want at least a version of this like for DoD, Cyber Command, NSA types of things, right? If you want to stay in that world and use your clearance. And if it is like that, then this is probably pretty good. If you were like applying for more civilian roles, then you're going to want to probably try to look at the language that's in the job listing for civilian pen test roles and make sure you're using similar language, right? Mirroring, not word for word copying and pasting the job description, but mirroring. So let's see if we can find. So like this, let's look at this. Let's say you want to make a version for civilian jobs at Google to like pen test other commercial companies that you're like, I don't want to do anything with the military anymore for right now. Cool. All right. This first part of this sentence is pretty fine, But then the recruiter's like, what the hell is the RF spectrum? The RF spectrum? So even like, I know what the RF spectrum was, right? SIGINT analyst. But like, again, little things like this, like if this were your civilian version, even something like that, if that's something they catch, they look at, they don't understand. So you want to kind of think about things like that. You don't have a lot of things in here that I would say would be doing that. I'm also a big fan of like spelling out all your acronyms one time if you can make it fit, just so that like, as a lot of the recruiters aren't technical. Oh, you've done it. See, you don't have a period here. I told you I was going to see. There's no period there. Fired. That's a little minor thing that I catch. I actually think this is probably pretty good. I'm not going to click on all these things, but I really like this. I kind of like that. But again, as long like if it's useful to like the sort of a job you're applying for. So like if this is like a personal blog, if that's really just like a personal blog about not cybersecurity, I would not include that. You don't want to give them any reason. You don't want to deselect yourself. That's fine. Ongoing, anticipated graduation date. I would say expected or anticipated, just to make sure. All right, I would include that in there. And it could be one of those things as well where we might actually want to move that up depending on like what you're seeing in the job description, if it's really required or not. And this is not bad. I think you said you were hoping to get past some things. I would bet that the jobs you're applying for, maybe the keyword filtering or the ATS system is looking for specific things that maybe you're not including. So like, all right, this is a pen test. This is a pen test one. All right, Metasploit. This guy doesn't even know how to use Metasploit. Right? Is it, or Kali or whatever we want to call it now, not listed. So again, that might sound really stupid, but if the hiring manager or the recruiter is like, oh, we know everybody we're looking for should know Metasploit, and you don't have Metasploit listed on here, or some other sort of like really basic thing that you're like, oh, well, every red teamer would do like whatever, would know this tool or know this skill. It might, so that's where you definitely want to look. Okay, Thomas, any other questions? Yeah, but you just make everything 11. Make everything 11. It's 2 pages now. And that's with the whole extra paragraph we're getting rid of here. All right, we're getting rid of that. Now we're going to have a different qualification and skills section because we want to break that apart a little bit. But even if we do like some of that, right, move that up here, right, it's still going to be 2 pages. And maybe you can like make that, like make this qualifications and skills 2 columns, right? And then, or whatever, how we're going to call it, certifications. And then this should be skills in programming languages or something like that. And then you get to experience. Like we're still at 2 pages. And so the only thing I would say here for this additional experience is you might want to include the dates. So like I actually do this on my resumes. I condense things that are like pretty old now because I'm only getting older and it's really irrelevant. So like you could include the dates, right? So like 2003 through like whatever. All right. Final call for questions, Thomas. Okay. You've been chatting on Discord. Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean that's where you want to tailor it, right? So like that's my Metasploit example. Like I mean like let's do it. I lost the window. I don't know what is going on with my window. Okay, hold on. All right. Close. Save. No, like Google jobs. DuckDuckGo. You're killing me right now. All right, well, let's just look at this one. I don't know. I'm not seeing pen testers. Are you actually finding pen tester roles? We think they're called red teamers here. Okay, so like for this one, do you have these words and this experience on your resume? Oh, hold on. Sorry, I thought I was sharing my screen already. Right, so like, do you have Active Directory, API testing, mobile application assessment, cloud pen test? If you have that experience. So when we're talking about like tailoring, especially at a really hard to get into place like Alphabet, Amazon, Apple, Google, like there's plenty of places that are going to be hard to get in, and you want to score high on the ATS with. So like you do have some of those programming languages, so that's on there. So when we talk about tailoring, like look at a specific job or look at types of jobs and make sure that you have the information that's listed in here, right? Adversarial emulation. Is adversarial emulation, do you have experience with that? Is that a skill you possess? Is that term on your resume? If you have experience with that and have done it at least like one time, then like make sure adversarial emulation is a skill you list on the resume. So there's a couple different ways you can do this. Like if you have actually been like, oh shit, I did like 10 adversary emulation exercises, then make it a bullet in the right place. If you have a little bit of experience with that, maybe took a class on it, maybe there was one time we did a pen test where we tried to pretend we were APT 29 or something, then maybe you just list adversary emulation under like a skill. Can you talk to it? I haven't done a whole lot of adversary emulation, but I have some training maybe. Wireless. I'm not sure that you had anything about wireless pen testing. Maybe you don't have any experience with that. Or if you do, but it's only a CTF, maybe you put it under like skills and not a bullet. This is what we mean by tailoring though. All right, Thomas, we got to move on. There's a couple other resumes here in the queue already. Good Lord. All right, who's next? Oh, this one. Perfect. Joshua Gilman, are you here? Joshua Gilman. All right. I see that he's here. Where did you get this format? That's my question. Where did you get this format? All right. This format is by no means the worst one I've ever seen. The reason I don't like it is because it's like, it just tells me facts. Like I don't get the story. I don't get who you are. I don't have that opening. I don't know why you're applying. I don't know why I have your resume. I don't know what White Rabbit is. It's like you, like, is that like a vampire, but now you went Bard multi-class? I don't know what's happening with that. So like, I am an experienced individual with X amount of years of experience in blah, blah field looking for a role as a blank. Even if you just include one line above your certifications, that will help you. No, I mean, your font's fine. I don't think this red and black thing, Josh, I'm not calling you. But you do you. I don't like that. I don't like that. Red is also a harsh color. Red, like, I don't know. I would just stick with black. I recommend people stick with black. I'm not a big person where you think like, oh, I should like colorize different things. That just makes it like harder to read. It's very strange to me. How many pages is this? How many pages is this? 2? Okay. Good. 2 pages. Perfect. But yeah, I as the hiring manager would appreciate like some background information in that professional summary, objective statement, whatever it is. So like, do you hold these certifications? Yeah, because you have, yeah, you do. See, to me, that's not even clear. Okay. A lot of the recruiters are not technical. So like if the job says like, we prefer to see somebody who holds GSEC or any of these other ones, they might not catch that you actually hold those certifications. So you might want to, I know we're at 2 pages right now. You have room. I might like make sure like certifications awarded or something, GSEC date, GCHI date, to make it very clear to the recruiter and the hiring manager that you have those certs. Yeah, see, this could be confusing, just even that part right there. And also, like because you have certs here. You have certs, but then you have certs. Joshua. Like, I would just say BS in applied cybersecurity, SANS technology, and like list your certs here, because I find that format to be harder to understand. You can get an Associate of Science in Firearms Technology, Josh. All right, chat. Chat. Guess what John is going to say about this portion of the resume? This is the interactive time, chat. Is it relevant? Is it relevant? Are you applying to the Maryland National State Police Association Cybersecurity Division? Because I guarantee you're going to apply somewhere, someone is going to see that, and they're going to move on to the next candidate. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just telling you that has absolutely probably already happened to you. It has already happened to you. Is it someone saw that, decided this, made assumptions, jumped to conclusions based on that, and passed on ever talking to you? Right. And I know like we're trying to be lighthearted about this, but like honestly, I worked with someone who had a really extensive resume and who was a kidney transplant survivor. And I encouraged him to take a lot of stuff out of his resume because I was sure he wasn't getting job offers because they were worried about his medical conditions. And sure as shit, as soon as some of that came off, because he wasn't willing to take all of it off, but as soon as he like got rid of some of that, and it was less about being a kidney transplant survivor and more about being a cybersecurity specialist, he got a job. I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying don't deselect yourself by including things that some people are going to find super like controversial. There's plenty of people and plenty of regions and plenty of industries where you can leave that on, right? Anything related to maybe like government, DOD, state, military, police, National Guard, there's plenty of places where like maybe that's still applicable and you can strike up a whole conversation because like, right, because it's relative, related to that person. But like if you're applying to Google and that's on your resume, all right, this is why we do this. I'm just trying to be honest. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. If it's not related, take that off. All right, what else do we got here? These are pretty good. I like that. So lead technician makes me think, okay, so you have non-cyber. Okay, so you are trying to break into cybersecurity. You're trying to break in and you have a SANS BS degree? Holy moly. Okay. All right. All right, this is what we're going to do. This is the, okay, you started 2 to 3 months ago. Got it. Okay. There is not one right or wrong way to try to handle this. I think you're going to want different versions of your resume. Some people are going to insist on seeing your experience, even if it's unrelated. I would take all of this off your resume. When I talk to someone who's pivoting in, I would get this down to a one-page resume. I would not include this section. I would say, I am a U.S. military Marine Corps veteran who served for 3 years and has over blank amount of years of experience in unrelated fields, pivoting into cybersecurity, looking for a role as a blank. Right? So like I have, and again, this is going to be relative too. Like, I am a Marine veteran. I am a veteran. I'm a, whatever, honorably discharged veteran who is pivoting into cybersecurity, looking for a role as a blank, and then have a pen test role, malware analyst role, even if that's the only line you change. I am open to assisted relocation. I cannot relocate. I'm interested in remote work. I'm interested in hybrid work. 1 or 2 lines at the very top. I would literally delete all of the unrelated experience here, including the time in the Marine Corps, since it's unrelated, and just move everything else to page 1, which then sets you up to talk to the recruiter, the hiring manager, about cybersecurity things that you're doing. Because if I see this and there's no intro here, I'm passing. I don't understand. I mean, I can ascertain. I can figure out as a hiring manager, oh, this is a person who's trying to get into cybersecurity. But I'm guessing a little bit because it doesn't explicitly say that. So your other option is to significantly reduce all of this. And I would only put like whatever the Marines call MOS. I would not list those words there. I would list an MOS and like 2 lines, 2 lines, 2 lines, and get this down to 1 page. But I work with a lot of people who are coming from another field, and unless there's really applicable skills they're bringing, so like if you were a teacher and you were going to pivot into cyber instruction roles maybe, or there was something from like being a teacher that like really like because of how you did X, Y, or Z, we could make that work, or we could wordsmith it. Because I could even say like, you're a lead technician. As a lead technician, I'm in charge of X amount of people responsible for numbers of dollars of things to ensure success for this small business. And then that's it. Maybe that's like all we put. So I think you have 2 options. My suggestion is you get rid of all of it, make it 1 page, focus on cyber. The other option I would say is significantly reduce all of that, 1 to 2 lines, and get it all on 1 page. And I would actually put experience underneath projects as the last thing. All right, Josh, what else? Those are my biggest overall things that you can do. Also, I see like you have this patent on here, and I don't know that it's really relative. So it's kind of cool that you hold a patent, but you also talk about rifle scopes. So like, it's still your resume. Like, maybe you just include the fact you have a patent. I don't know. I don't know that it's really relevant. I don't know that it adds anything to your resume. I mean, it's kind of cool because you have a patent, but like, I don't know. Well, Josh, say like, then like, this patent describes a mechanism, blah, 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 period. Delete all of that. And then like, if it comes up in the interview at all, you can be like, oh, well, that just talks about my technical abilities. So that's why I wanted to leave that on there, even though it's unrelated to cybersecurity. But I would maybe like I would not describe the rest of it. Maybe just leave it as that first 1 line. Yeah, we're trying to get past an ATS screening, and we're also trying to get past any judgments or biases that people have so that you get to talk to a person. Pivoting is really hard. This is probably the most difficult thing. So my initial instinct is we don't want to include all of the other unrelated stuff. It's still your resume. If you're like, oh, I still want to show that, but you're still going to have to list out like places you worked before generally, like if you get to that section. I'm also going to suggest that if you're probably not going to go work at Google or Amazon or Apple for your first line of engagement in cybersecurity, even if you finished the SANS Institute. You probably want to target smaller organizations that probably can't pick from the same crop of people that those super larger organizations are picking. Right? So like, could you look at more local organizations or more remote roles to at least get some sort of work experience in IT or cybersecurity as you work through? And then we can update that and list, But if you're like, I'm going to finish up the SANS Institute while I work here, and my first job is going to be as an Apple pen tester, I am not sure that is probably what will happen. Okay. Hopefully that is helpful, Josh. I want to move on. We've got a whole bunch still in the queue. I was thinking CISO. I'm just ready to be the CISO. Hello. Who's next? All right. Who is this? All right. This is an anonymized one. This is coming to us from Reach Chris Young. All right. Hopefully we can all see now. All right. What do we got here? Hey, we got some information. I'm pretty happy with that. Good job. We got, it looks like 2 pages. Perfect. Hopefully everybody can see all of this. All right, so that is a very long sentence. It's fine. And that is the I am. I am a blank. You nailed the first part, right? So we probably want to like just get the first sentence to be shorter, right? I am a digital professional with over 20 years in SEO, having recently, decided to pivot into cybersecurity, looking for a role as, right? So that's, and again, you can customize this as much as you want. Like, I am a digital professional with over, is it 20 years, so whatever, 20 years total experience in the technical field, having recently pivoted to cybersecurity, looking for a role as a blank. And then you could say something like, completing a master's in data science with a projected graduation date of XYZ. Where's your certifications? Oh no, Jesus, man, you got to move. Oh, all of this got to be on page 1. As you're pivoting. I hold an ISC squared cert. Right, add that in there. And the TCM security certification, something like that. Boom. Okay. Open to assisted relocation or hybrid or remote roles within the X area, right? Like state, whatever. This Absolutely don't want. I don't even know what that was. That's not important. This, let's make, you gotta make all of that count. I don't know why everything doesn't have to be bold. You got a lot of bold going on. We also can make this all 11 font. So this is yours. Some people are going to have different feelings about the Boy Scouts. I'm sure people have different feelings about the Boy Scouts. It's probably okay to leave it on in most cases. But again, you're going to get someone who doesn't like the Boy Scouts. I am not a big fan of including stuff about hobbies, but I include the fact that I am a U.S. soccer referee and licensed coach on mine. So people could at least theoretically figure out I'm involved in soccer. But I think anything that takes away from the focus of your resume is bad. Like if your hobby was like, I founded DEF CON, probably include that. But I would suggest getting rid of that. And you might be able to get this down to one page. And since you're kind of a career pivot or changer, shorter is generally better, in my opinion. We probably can get this down to one page pretty quickly. Like this is really old. I mean, like, don't take offense when I say this stuff, but like if it's not within the last like 5 to 7 years, it pretty much doesn't matter. It's like, could you get that down? I'm wondering if like we could just like somehow shrink this down a little bit, right? So like make that 5, make that 5, make all of these spaces like 5, and like get this down to one page. Like what's our layout at? What's our margins? Narrow. Like maybe change the spacing a little bit. If we get rid of like who, I don't care what you did there. That's too old. We get rid of that. We get rid of that. What does that mean? What does that like? What does that mean? State licensure. Jonathan, whose is this? Whoever this is. Like, are you like a volunteer like in the morgue? I don't understand what that means. I have a lot of questions. You should talk to the vampire guy. We get this down. See, we're gonna get this to one page right now, live. So what is this? Veteran work study. I mean, like, get that down to one line. One line. It's not relevant. So, like, we could probably change what that one line says. We're real close. We're real close. That's with very little. That's like live, right? We could probably get rid of that, right? Get that to like be 3 lines. We probably also don't need to call it a career summary. We don't need to call it a career summary. It's a career summary. Open to assisted notification or hybrid roles. Boom. Boom. They already know where you live because you have it up top. One page. Yeah, it's a work study job. So it's not like one line there, one page. Now, the problem with this one is how much can you tailor? Again, you're like coming from like a slightly different role, sort of started getting in cybersecurity. So you're really going to want to use your network connections a lot. I would just put the link, like if you have a GitHub, I would just include the link there. This is also green. I don't know why there's like green here. All black. All right, that was confusing to me. Yeah. I mean, I think that's pretty good. Again, anytime you're like trying to just get into cybersecurity, it's going to be pretty tough. Any other questions? Last call for questions here. Okay. I did save it. Email me tomorrow and I'll send you this version. I did save it. Okay. All right. My email is also on my slide. It's fine. I'm protected by Google. Just email me tomorrow. We'll get that one back to you. I want to move on to the next one. Mr. King, I think, is the next one that I see. And even if we're not doing your resume, if you were here and paying attention, hopefully some of the other things we run into on someone else's resume will be helpful to you. This is why I like to do this live. Okay. What is that? Oh, is that your name? Okay, so hopefully you would have like your name, contact information, where does this guy live? Okay, perfect. Cell phone number, very helpful. So early in my career, funny story time. Early in my career, I used to have like expert SIGINT analysts when I was getting out. And I had somebody like in the interview be like, expert according to who? And I was like, I mean, I was hand selected by the NSA director to go to Canada. So like him, this guy was an absolute dick. So I ended up taking that verbiage off because again, I didn't want to run into that. It was really weird. I think the guy was just, I don't know. He was a bozo. But I still remember it to this day because I was like, holy crap. Well, I'm sure glad we had this interview so that you could like throw me under the bus. Hopefully feel better when you go home and drink like 14 Keystone Lights tonight there, Brad. So like, I think like a recognized expert, the wording of that is odd. I would rather you just say an expert with specialization, or, you know, if you first or third person, like I bring expertise in government, risk management, regulatory. This is like, again, it just triggered me because like that one guy was like, according to who? Like, give me a list. And I was like the NSA director, and that was not good enough. I know you can say you're an expert. I would just be careful. Like anyway, it's really nitpicky at this point. So the other thing here though is like I would say this could be slightly better because you could say an expert with over 57 years of experience in governance, risk management, regulatory, looking for a role as the CISO of Space Command. Boom. Right? What is it that you're trying to do here? I am a blank, seeking a blank. Right? Now, this is pretty good. Like, I'm being very nitpicky here, Christopher. So even adding that little bit right there, what is it that you're looking for? Like, are you still looking for a GRC role, or are you looking to do something else? That's very helpful so that the recruiter knows right away. How many pages is Christopher? Good Lord. We do have all the certifications. Okay. Okay. It's fine. That's why we're here. Look. Okay. We could definitely get this down to at least 3 pages, I have no doubt. Because there's a lot of stuff here that is very redundant. And this is the most important page. The most important page, and this is the most important part of the most important page, right? I'm spending 30 seconds on here. So, like, I'm not a big fan of this at all. I'm not a big fan of that section. You also already told me most of this. Now, if you're like trying to make sure you have keywords in an ATS system, but like you already have risk management. You already said risk management up here. You already said risk management, risk compliance, ethics, GRC, GSART. Like if they use GRC and E versus GRC, right? So like maybe we throw like GRC up here just to make sure, right? We have it covered with whatever term they might have in the, but like, I'm not a big fan of that being in here because we could work that into a bullet somewhere. And I think this is taking up too much room. This whole thing is taking up way too much room. This whole thing has to take up that much room because it's too long. So like, I don't know. I like that section the least. There's too many words here. Most of that doesn't say a whole lot unless it says I'm going to work with board of directors. A lot of that's kind of fluff. Right. And then I would do this. People are going to disagree with this. That's fine. I might even disagree with this later. I think that maybe we move that. Maybe we move that somewhere else. Also, your font sizes are all over the place. $11. Okay. I don't know if we can get that to be 2 columns, right? We could like make that 9, make that 2 columns maybe. I don't know. Get rid of the bulleting. Make this 2 columns. 2 columns. Boom. Because that's impressive as hell, man. I don't know I've ever seen anybody with that many certifications. And then you go down through here and talk about everything else. And then orientation, no. Margins, narrow, that's fine. You don't need that. That's taking up room to have that. You don't need to include that on the header. That might save you a little space. If you want to keep it, it's fine. We're already down to 3 pages. Now, obviously, you would want to like work some of this more. And you can even save space like that. Could be like over here to save you a line. Right? Like you can work it so like that's not taking up a whole line. That's taking up a whole line for you. And this might be a me thing, but you definitely have, I swear you, looks like different fonts. Maybe it just looks weird because we changed some stuff. I think you're using a different font there. So if you're going to use a different font there, make that the same font that is. Or you could just make everything the same font. Also, you're losing space on your bullets because you could slide your bullets over a lot and get a little bit of space back. So like here's like performs. Perform cybersecurity risk assessments of suppliers and others. Like how many? That's what I'm trying to get. Like how many of these things have you done? 5, 50, 150, 500. I want a number. US based, international. That is fine. That's fine. But I don't have like the impact. I don't have that. Yeah. I mean, like, I don't, maybe that's all you can put. If there's nothing else you can do there, that's okay. Like that's not telling me a whole lot different than that one. Unless you like, if they have like walkthrough vendor controls, if that verbiage is in the job description and we need it, that's fine. Otherwise, I don't know that sentence is doing a whole lot here. Like that, those words, professionally written assessments, aren't actually helping. I guarantee we can get that whole thing to one line. Creates written findings aligned to requirements and cybersecurity risk mitigation recommendations. If I could spell. One line. One line bullets are so much easier to scan because at this point, it's likely someone's not reading it at this level unless you're in the interview. Yeah, like one line, as much as you can, one line, 2 lines, okay. More than 2 lines, you better have been hand selected by the president to be the CISO of Apple. And like explain that in 3 lines. Okay. So that's fine, but like this whole thing, like develops trust relationships with a variety of clients and customers to further I'm not even sure what you're trying to say there. See, like, I'm not even sure what you're trying to say here. To gain consensus approvals, to obtain consensus on cybersecurity strategies, operational strategies, business strategies, whatever strategies you're getting consensus on. Whatever strategy it is, business, cybersecurity, operations, one line. Like this is a really good bullet. I'm not a big fan of sub bullets because you're also losing a lot of space because now like we're sub bulleted in. But that's a good bullet. I guarantee we could get that down to at least 2 lines. And so like when you were here, like how large is the department? Manage deployment on overall operations of GRC for a 6-person company. Multi-state, multinational, 50-person company, 500-person company, 2,000-person company. Like if you're going to have something like that, you got to tell me size, scale. Like if you're a SOC analyst, if you're a threat analyst, scale. So like if you're in the SOC and it's like a small business and you've got like 1,000 endpoints, I think it's advantageous to you to be like, SOC tier 1 analyst on night shift for a 1,000 person small business, or for an MSSP, which we have over 2,000 clients with a combined total of 2.3 million endpoints. Because that matters as a hiring manager. I might be hiring a SOC analyst, but if I'm hiring a SOC analyst at Bank of America, I need someone who's got the scale if they're coming in at like, mid-tier, tier 2 or 2, 3 SOC analyst, SOC manager. Like if you're a SOC manager, but it's a SOC manager of a small SOC, I can't hire you as the SOC manager at a Fortune 100 company because you have no experience with scale. So I'm a big fan of trying to make sure you understand that when you're applying, so you're not applying for things, which is when there is no chance you're going to be the fit. And that's like introspective in the job search, but like also on your resume, include information so that I understand. Like, our SOC is handling 2,000 alerts a day on average or something because my SOC is getting 12,000 alerts a day or whatever because I'm a Fortune 20 company and we have, 100 SOC analysts around the world, right? We kind of went off a tangent there. Okay. You got like weird spacing here. I don't know what your spacing is doing here, but like this, you can fix all of this spacing and tighten this up. I would definitely say you get this down to 3 pages. Nobody cares what you did in the National Army. That's way too long ago. So I would just get rid of that. Like you can keep it listed there, but I don't think you need any bullets. I don't know that this is doing you any good. It's just taking up space. And do you have any time to do work? I kid a little bit. Like if you want to keep the PMI thing and I ask an IC squared, I mean, maybe this is relevant. I don't know how relevant this is. You're the only person that knows how relevant this is going to be. Like if you're applying to a healthcare company, then maybe keep that one. If it's not a healthcare company, does it really matter? I've never heard of these two, so I don't know how prestigious, how important that is to you to get past the screening. I don't know. I don't think overall it's hurting you, but your resume is too long. You can definitely get down to 3 pages. You probably could get down to 2 pages with a little bit more work here. Any other questions? Okay. I understand like removing stuff from your resume is super difficult. I have a 3-page resume. I am bad at following this. Now I can ditch the 3rd page. Like if I knew they only wanted a 2-page resume, I have mine set up in a way that I could ditch the 3rd page. It is really hard to get stuff off your resume. It's the thing I also struggle with the most. All right. I see Victor Williams up next. I don't know if they're here. Oh, here we go. All right. You are here. Perfect. All right. All right. Hopefully everybody can see. All right. On to the second Bitburger. All right. All right. So Victor, hopefully you've been in here where we talked about having that professional summary at the top. So you currently don't have that. I don't know. I would strongly encourage you to list at least like where you're located up here. If you're open to relocation, I would include open to relocation in the final line of the professional summary, right? So what do we got going on here? 1 page. Okay, so you are a USDA IT specialist. Okay, got it. So I definitely feel like you have room on your resume to put I am a blank seeking a blank. I am an IT professional with X amount of years of experience who holds an ISC squared certified in cybersecurity certification, looking for a role as a blank in the Dallas, Texas area, preferably hybrid or remote options, whatever that is. I would include 1 or 2 other lines, whatever you feel is like important for me to know about you. That's going to maybe set you apart. Not I'm a highly motivated cybersecurity professional seeking professional growth, because everybody says that. But like if there's something else meaningful, I anticipate to graduate with my BS in cybersecurity on XX date, approximately, something like that. Because you're sort of trying to fill up this page to get someone to talk to you about a fairly entry-level role is what it looks like, right? So the other thing I would say is I would bulletize this. I know like you're trying to include some stuff in here, but this is really hard to read. Anytime I see someone with paragraph style formats, as a hiring manager, my soul just dies a little bit. You also have sentence, and then like you don't have a period at the end of your final sentence, which I noticed because I told you guys I was going to notice that because it's a thing I noticed. I would bulletize all of this, right? As an IT specialist, I am responsible for X, Y, and Z. Whatever that is. As a USDA IT specialist, I am responsible for X, Y, and Z. Because this is sort of like very piecemeal. Like I ensure connectivity by setting up a WAP. I am responsible for wireless access point connectivity and troubleshooting. Could be a bullet. Right? So whatever it is that you are doing and are responsible for or have done, I would bulletize. Like you have it on a daily basis. I manage a diverse range of user activities in the app. Like you have some of this. I would just bulletize it, right? So I am responsible for a diverse range of user account activities within a 500 person, 2,000, right? Give me some metrics. How many people work here? How large is this facility, right? Or I am responsible for the user account activities within Active Directory for a organization of over 500 people. Multi-state, multinational, international. That would be good to know. I don't have any of that. You don't like, it's not sentences. So like another bullet, I ensure all IT equipment allocations and configurations are accurately recorded and reflected in what? ServiceNow, Jira, Confluence, Atlassian. You guys using a spreadsheet? Notepad++, the USDA ain't got no money, whatever it might be. Everybody's like, yeah, Notepad++, that's what we use. That's our database. Somebody just absolutely had Notepad++ PTSD. There was a question in here. Like, do we want to list your GPA? Yeah, if it's good. Don't list it if it's not 3.5 or higher. If it's higher than 3.5, maybe list it. It's totally your call. I used to list mine on there because I only have an associate's. So like I used to be like 3.8457. I'm pretty sure is what it was. I would also say like you should bulletize this, not paragraph it. But you have a lot in here under your education. And I know we're trying to kind of fill up page one, but this seems like a lot to put under your education. I would say, like, you are working as an IT specialist. Okay. So this is my recommendation. And maybe you try different formats. You can have different formats of your resume too. I would put your education below because you have everything on page one. And I would move experience, certifications, and projects above education if you're going to try to list that much stuff out about it. Because I'm much more interested in some of your projects and the fact that you have a couple certifications and you are, in fact, in the IT field already. Right. So if you're looking for like a SOC role or like one of these like very generic cyber analyst roles that get listed everywhere, I'm assuming like if I talk to you about like TCP/IP, hopefully you're going to be able to like not give me like a dumbfounded look. But that's the other thing is that this is what you don't have. Okay, Victor, if you got rid of some of this, you could have one of these skill sections that I hate. Right. And then you could be like, wireless access point configurations, like TCP/IP, and like list some things in there so that you're getting those keywords if you're running into ATS issues and not getting screened. Like you could list like SQL familiarity or whatever it is. Like, what did you learn? Whatever that is, what did you learn here? Like, could you list that as a skill? Right. So like, what kind of servers? It's USDA, so probably like Win Server 2012, I'm guessing, something like that. But like, I don't know any of that. You don't actually give me any of the details, and I might want to know. Oh, please, Jesus, tell me it's not Win Server 2012, Victor. Good Lord. Ugh, great. So like Active Directory, but you don't list, like if you had a skill section, you could list Active Directory, right? Are you remoting into fix things? Because you don't have anything in there about any remote tools, right? Which, like, is it Jira? Is it ServiceNow? Is it Confluence? Like, where do you Remedy, right? But then, like, oh, at least he knows Remedy, right? And you can even list like skills and proficiencies, Remedy service tickets, SQL, wireless configuration, Active Directory, old as shit Windows servers, right? So, like, I would say you might want to get rid of some of this little bit, move that down, move everything else up, but also include a skill section or however you want to word it, skills and proficiencies, like whatever term you want to call that section with maybe 2 columns, that might help you a little bit. Yeah, I think I mean, those are all my big thoughts here. Victor, you got any other questions? GPA and work experience inquiries. Would you want explicit responsibilities listed in a single bullet point? No, I mean, it really depends on the situation. Like in this case on Victor, Yeah, this one might be, I am responsible for, a diverse range of user account activities within Active Directory for an organization of over 500 people. I'm responsible for ensuring wireless access points are configured correctly in 17 buildings on the campus or whatever. What kind of technology? Like these are utilizing blah, blah, blah technology, or they're blah, blah, blah wireless access points or something like that. Like MIMO wireless access points using Netgear routers or whatever. If you're like more senior, then you might have a more all-encompassing bullet of like, I am responsible for a team of 35 cyber threat intel personnel to support CIS's cyber threat hunt division to ensure mission success. And then I have other bullets that explain all the other things that I was doing. Yeah, it's not fluff. Again, it's not fluff. I don't care what you do. Like when I get your resume, I want it to sound like a Deloitte lawyer wrote the bullets, because that's the standard in cybersecurity, right? So you're competing for the types of positions, Victor, in your case that you are competing for. I guarantee, like if you're applying, they're probably getting dozens, if not hundreds of applications for that fairly junior-ish role for whatever it is. And you want to stand out. So we want to make sure that these bullets are as impactful and show what you do, regardless of how senior or junior you may be in your role, right? So that's why it's important to articulate as much as you can all of the details about what you are doing in your role. So like apply these queries. Applied various SQL queries across different types of use cases, which demonstrated my effective understanding of how to manipulate data efficiently from databases. So ChatGPT is like a whole nother thing. And you can get ChatGPT to help you with specific portions, sentences, phrasing, wording. Absolutely. You cannot get ChatGPT to write your resume or large sections, right? So could I get ChatGPT to rewrite like this paragraph? Yes, potentially. You might want to make sure it makes sense. And so like, yeah, absolutely. ChatGPT, Bard, whatever LLM that might be out there, like for certain things, or like you're just like, oh my God, this is still 2 lines. I need to get rid of a word. Hey, ChatGPT, here's my sentence. Please make this sentence shorter. ChatGPT is amazing for very specific use cases like that. Yeah, absolutely. And that's how I would use ChatGPT if you're struggling with something. Just give it very specific instructions of what you want to do. Okay, so like live, we're just going live to ChatGPT. All right. Okay. Hello. You want to be nice just when it takes over, is my experience. Okay. Can you please rewrite this sentence so that it is shorter and more professionally sounding? Touchdown. Right? I'm not going to have ChatGPT rewrite my whole resume, because that's you can't do that. It cannot do that. But it can do that. So if you're struggling with very specific things, right? We can have it help with that. All right. Victor, that's it. Hopefully that will help you. Yeah, if you like you had a 3.9 GPT like on your like bachelor's, but then like barely got by like an MBA or something, I wouldn't list any of the GPAs anywhere then. I think is what you're asking, Chris. Was that Victor Williams? That's who we're just working with. Okay, so now I've got the next one, Hamid. I don't know if this person is here. Let's just do the entire screen so I don't have to keep. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. Okay. Hamid, are you here? Hello. Okay. All right. Houston, Texas. We got it. Email, LinkedIn. Purpose driven. Okay. Just cut it out. Just stop. Okay. Highly driven, highly motivated, purpose driven. Everybody in the military is used to writing like that because that's the bullshit we had to write like in our OERs and NCOERs. You don't need that. Okay. Hamid is a cybersecurity professional U.S. Army veteran, adept at leveraging interpersonal, technical, and leadership skills to enhance team teaching. That's fine. So what I need, so he's got I am a blah, 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 blah. It's too long, but it's fine. That tells me nothing. No. So like I am a blank is this one, looking for an opportunity for a role as a role, not a dynamic team where I can contribute and blah, 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 other capitalist words. No, that's not what we want. That doesn't tell me anything. Deliver innovative solutions for the federal government, who's definitely known for innovative solutions. Okay. All right. A technical servant leader. But again, Darren, what I'm really saying is like, you like if this person, because I don't know that they're here, if Hamid is like, and like, oh, look, a technical program management job at Lockheed Martin at Fort Gordon, that's perfect. I am a blah, 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 looking for a technical program management role near Fort Gordon. Perfect, because then when the recruiter's like, that's exactly what we're hiring for. Yeah, because I tailored the resume because I applied for that role. So I know. So that's a perfect fit. So that sentence is fine. I'm a servant leader who has a passion. I mean, it's fine. You got to say something about yourself. Like, I'm just saying, like, don't spend a lot of time trying to, like, put fluff in here because, like, when I read this, it's fine. I like the fact, like, that's a very trendy term. Servant leader is a very trendy term. So I kind of like the fact that it's in there. Most of the time I probably wouldn't, but I kind of like that specific phrasing. But a lot of this here is just, it doesn't tell the recruiter anything, doesn't tell the hiring manager anything. Like, I am looking for a technical program leader job at Fort Gordon. As a servant leader, I have a passion for mentoring junior members of the team, as I have done across several of my previous roles. Because then the hiring manager can be like, oh yeah, this person's going to lead like 50 people. Can you talk about some of the mentoring you did in some of the previous roles that you describe up in your professional summary? And then hopefully you've thought and prepared for your interview to be like, oh shit, I probably need some stories about how I mentored Private Snuffy to like not statically set all the IP addresses for the whole battalion at Fort Gordon and why that wouldn't work. Right. So, but like, this is what I mean. Okay. I see we're getting stuck here a little bit. All right. Jobs. Cybersecurity. Program manager. GDIT. Cybersecurity program manager. Here it is. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your dream job. Let's go apply. All right. Perfect. Falls Church. Perfect. I definitely love Virginia. They want a CISSP. This is a cybersecurity program manager. So I am a cybersecurity professional, U.S. Army veteran, adept at leveraging, blah, blah, blah. That's too long. Looking for a role as a cybersecurity senior manager. I am open to relocation to the Maryland, D.C., Virginia area. Right? And so, like, then we would take a look at this. And if this person's like, I want to tailor my resume for this particular job, do I have experience with wide area networks and authentication and directory services? And are those words on the resume if I have that experience? Now, I lost my second screen. It's back. Perfect. Okay. Hello. So I am a cybersecurity professional and U.S. Army veteran. You know, I might still rework this. Okay. Here we go. ChatGPT. Help me rewrite this sentence and make it shorter and more impactful. Please, dear ChatGPT overlord. So now your sentence is, I am a skilled cybersecurity professional and U.S. Army veteran, adept at boosting team cohesion, proficiency, and mission readiness, blah, blah. Second sentence, I am looking for a job as a cybersecurity senior manager in the D.C., Maryland, Virginia region, period. And now that resume, if that's the only thing you change, at least you've changed that part of it. So when and if it gets to the recruiter, they're like, oh, this person wants to relocate from Fort Gordon, where they're at, to this area, and this is the exact thing that we want to hire for. Right? Years of experience would be really good. Right? I am a cybersecurity professional, U.S. Army veteran with 23 years of experience looking for a role as a cybersecurity senior manager in the DMV area. And like then other things in this job ad, if you have those skills, need to be in the resume. Because if they're using an ATS and they're only going to pull the top 3 scoring resumes and you don't have ITIL, even though you did something with ITIL and you don't have authentication and you don't have wide area network listed, your ATS score will drop. You can't include things you don't know, right? We're not going to lie on the resume. That's not what we're doing with tailoring. We're making sure that as we tailor the resume to the job or job role, things that are there are on the resume when it is factually part of things we have done, right? So like if this person, Hamid, if you like worked in a SOC at any point and you just, maybe we didn't call it a SOC because we called it a missions control center because we're the military and we don't use SOC. Call it a SOC because that's what the job is and that's what it was. It was a SOC. We just decided we needed to call it something else because Colonel Smith needed a bullet on his award, right? Right? That's what we're talking about. And this is some of the other thing with civilianizing things because the military completely makes up absolutely new terms for like things that already exist, right? This is the thing that happens, right? So like if we've made up some term for something that you did when it's really like, you know, wireless access points, and we made up some sort of like crazy like electromagnetic non-wireless communication and it was WAPs, then like change it to be the thing most people call it. Don't use whatever weird term we invented on the aircraft carrier to be different. I would definitely get this on page 1. Move your technical skills, tools, blah, blah, certifications and clearances. Move all of that up here under your professional summary. All right, let's take, that's 3. Try to keep the bullets to 2. So again, you're going to have to make sure what ChatGPT gives you back is like good. But like, if you're having trouble making your bullet shorter, this is absolutely a use case for trying to get ChatGPT to help you if you're okay with doing that. 1 line is best, 2 lines is okay. I like the fact that you spell stuff out. And again, so some of this is like, I mean, if you're like, I never want to do anything again with the military in my life, then you want to civilianize this resume. If you're like, GDIT, Lockheed Martin, here I come, baby, it's fine. The maximum number of certifications, we had some guy who had like the GRC who had like every certification that cybersecurity has. He had like 24. We just dual columned it, made the font 9, listed them all there. Yeah, GRC Jesus was in here, man. You missed him. And he had like literally he had like 40 certifications that were all active. And I was like, that's pretty impressive. I would actually put that up top, and we just made it smaller. And I went to size 9 font on them to make it fit. But like, again, are they relevant? Like, if, again, every certification isn't always relevant to everybody. So like a lot of this is opinion and conjecture and like what you think. So columns, again, if it's a column and not a table, it's more likely to be imported correctly. If it's a column, it's probably okay. If it's a table, it's less likely to be to go into the ATS correctly. So I would much prefer columns rather than tables. And that's because of the ATS processing. Yeah, again, I mean, if you cannot have columns or tables, that's probably okay. But tables, I would definitely try to avoid if at all possible, and use columns if you can. If you can do none, that's okay, right? Like if you don't need any of it, that's even better. But they will cause problems in the processing on the back end. And that's why you also will oftentimes upload a Word document version as well to try to get it to process through the ATS or through like Workday or whatever they're using more correctly, as opposed to uploading the PDF there. And you can always make sure the recruiter has a PDF copy. You can email them. So like here. So I mean, like if you were like, I'm never doing anything with the military again, please get me a civilian job with a nonprofit where we take care of goats in Nebraska or whatever, then like you would need to change a lot of this wording because they don't know what signals intelligence queries are, right? So like, again, this sounds to me like, based on your resume, that you're like, give me a job, Lockheed Martin. And if that's true, or like, give me a job, Cyber Command, GS-15, let's get going, this resume is fine. If this were intended to be for like a civilian company, it would require extensive rework to civilianize the resume. Well, I mean, like you spell it out here, so I think that's good. But like in technical fields, an SOP is still something people should know. But like there's other things like JQR. I spell this out in mine. I worked on JQRs and JQSs. But if I were like applying to something that was like, I don't think that they were going to understand what that means, I might try to change the wording, like just use a different wording, like, because they're not going to know what that means. This overall is pretty good, but like, again, like in the US, legally, there's only a handful of places that can do offensive cyber operations. So again, if you're like offensive cyber operations, I'm applying in the DoD contracting world or something like that, great. If not, that might just confuse someone who looks over that. So like, how would you? Okay, so let's take a look at this line in particular. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Well, like we could try. I haven't tried to use ChatGPT to civilianize things, but like a terrain audit. So like, let's say you were applying for roles as a senior cybersecurity leader in the commercial world, right? Then this whole thing is going to have to get reworked. So what is it that we're doing here, right? And is it relevant? Like conducted analysis of cyberspace in order to ascertain cybersecurity risks and implement mitigation strategies? right? Like, because most of this might not really convey to any civilian job at all. So it really depends on like what you're trying to accomplish. If you want to keep this bullet, if it's relevant to a commercial job you are applying for. Like, so like, am I really focused on the fact that like I analyze a lot of different data in order to come up with better cybersecurity strategies? Like, is that kind of all we're going to say in that case? Am I really focused on like, so like you did network mapping and penetration testing and digital forensics and network risk assistance all in one thing? So like if you did all of those different things, we could maybe just have a bullet that talks about them individually if they were relative or relevant to that other job you were applying for. So like that sounds like red team to a large extent. So like, were you doing essentially pen testing, red teaming? So then like those are terms a civilian should understand if it's relevant to the job you're applying for. Right. But like you can't start this with conducted network terrain audits. No civilian outside of like the DoD world is going to have any idea what that means. Conducted cybersecurity, like conducted asset management audits, right? Again, it depends on like what this actually means and how you want to convey it. So like, yeah, OCO is essentially red teaming to some degree, but like, then you got to be careful because like, would those skills translate over to a red team? Could I set you down on a red team with standard issue red team tools? And could you be a pen tester or red team like doing threat emulation? If your skill set is like, I know how to use these tools that are given to us from an agency, then like there's probably no civilian equivalent to that. If like I need tool A, B, and C on network 1, 2, and 3 from agency 1 to do that, then it's probably not applicable in the civilian world at all. As much as it's not applicable to like list the fact that I have sniper certification on my resume when I'm trying to be a SOC tier 1 analyst. Like it literally may not have anything to do, and there might not be a civilian equivalent. So again, I guess to me, the question is, are you trying to civilianize this version of the resume, or are you likely to like go from active duty to DoD contracting and then sort of figure out from there? Okay. If you're civilianizing this, I would, if you're not already in the VetSec Slack chat, I would definitely join the resume channel because I think this is going to need quite a lot of work to civilianize it. Like, it doesn't matter that networks were classified, right? If we want a civilian version of this, a lot of this needs to be redone. And I don't know that we're going to have time to dive into that level of it right now, but I think you have enough here that it can be civilianized. I'm going to want to jump in. We have at least 2. We have a lot more in the queue. I'll get to as many as I can, but we're going to jump to the next one. I don't know if Tom is still here, but I think somebody can probably help you join VetSec for free and then get you added to the Slack. All right, Brandon, I don't know if you're here either. All right, so we got a 2-page. I swear there's a different fonts. We got the location, contact information. That's all fine. All right, Brandon, we need to work on this because that can't be your first sentence. So again, I am an IT professional with a focus on cybersecurity with 5 years of experience looking for a role as a blank. An IT professional with 5 years of experience looking for a role as a blank. So that needs to be the first line on here. Is Brandon here at all? Okay, so you're here in Discord. All right. Man, I'm not sure we're going to get to all of these yet. We got a couple more to go. So that would be how I would change it. Like the stuff about the kill chain or MITRE attack or anything like that should just be down in the bullets. That should just be down in the bullets. I would say, like, are you open to relocation? Are you open to hybrid work? And I would make sure that your clearance is listed in that same bullet as all, whether it's active, inactive, whatever level it was. I would also make sure all the fonts are the same, and I would just use one size font through everything. You just make everything like 11. So I would list like the date here. It seems very odd to me that you have like ITIL version 4, but then like you don't have the date, the certification, either you got it or when it expires. And you can just list the expiration date or when you got the cert. You don't have to list it that way. These are just minor things. I'm always a big fan of including your number on these things, but I'm weird and nitpicky. So I like to include my PMI number and my ISC squared number and my CompTIA number. Again, it kind of proves to people that like I'm not just BSing that I have the cert. I don't think we talked about that yet. Yeah, your font sizes, and I don't know if it's just like when you PDF'd it, it became weird, but it's killing me. All right, bulletize all these things. Don't use this paragraph format. Don't have two sentences like this. So, okay, we're gonna. All right, I want this to sound like a lawyer wrote this. So we went from provides customer service to internal customers, which is very redundant, responding to their IS needs, issues, concerns, and requests, establishes. 2, delivers prompt and effective customer service for internal clients addressing IS requirements, concerns, and requests. Cultivates consistent and clear communication, both written and in person, with all levels of end users. That's what we would list. Those things. And that is how we take. So what I see with this resume is it's written as if you were speaking, and it needs to be written like a Deloitte lawyer provided this to a judge in an affidavit. That's what we want it to sound like. And I know I'm being overly dramatic. You may have noticed sometimes I am like that. Okay. Oh, you're in Discord. See, everybody's like in different things. This is like what chat channel is active right now, roulette for me. It's funny. Okay. So like participates in key process improvements as they relate to enterprise computing software. It doesn't tell me a lot. It's not like the worst bullet in the world ever, but like it also like it's not really doing a lot for you. So like, were you in meetings? Was this like what was it like? Key process improvements. Are we stretching here? Where you're like, we should really like upgrade to Windows 11 now, guys? Like, what was this? And how large is your environment? We've talked about this before. If you've been around, like, I still don't know what size. I don't know what Builder's First Source is. I've never heard of this. I don't know if this is like a gravel delivery company with 2 dudes. I don't know if this is like the largest MSSP in Denver. I've literally never heard of it. So it's a national company, right? So your first bullet might be more like, as an IT infrastructure senior technician for Builders First, a national company with over X amount of users, endpoints, systems, I am responsible for X, Y, and Z on a daily basis. Next bullet, right? I install, configure, test, maintain, monitor, and troubleshoot end user and network hardware for over 750 quadrillion people nationwide. Yeah, but I mean, they could be a big company. I still never heard of them. And because I don't know that, I don't know how big they are. So I don't have any of that information unless you're very good at articulating it in the interview. When I say, hey, hey, Brandon, thanks for coming in and talking with us today about our open SOC Tier 2 position here at Lockheed IT Surface Systems. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? And you're like, I'm so excited to talk to you. As you can see, I'm an IT infrastructure senior technician with Builders First, which is a national company in the, gravel delivery enterprise services with over 750,000 people worldwide or whatever. Unless you work on saying that, I will have no idea when the interview ends what size, scope, and scale of the environment is that you're familiar with. Quantify. Impact, metrics, quantify. Over the course of a year, over the course of a week, I am responsible for X amount of tickets in our ticketing system. You have way too many bullets here, probably as well. We can tighten this up. We could probably get this down to one page. You have a lot of weird spacing and fonts, and like your margins are the size of Antarctica. So we could tighten this all down a lot and really get this to one page. And based on how much experience you have, this probably should really be a one pager. If you are fairly junior, one page is the way to go. We can definitely get this down to one page if I had like the DocX version. As we get down here, again, was this also still Builders First? Okay, cool. Hey, you've only ever been employed by this company. If you're like Dad, the vice president, I'm just kidding. What you want to do here again is I don't know how many. Installs, maintains 3 servers, 50 servers, 150 servers. How many? Even if you're estimating, like you can estimate, right? Installing and maintaining an estimated 50 Windows servers, 200 desktop PCs, 250 field laptops, and various peripheral devices. Period. New bullet. You can't do that. Like it's got to be a new bullet. New bullet. And this is all past tense. Oh my God. Past tense. This is things you did. So this is all got to be past tense. Present tense, present job, past tense, old job. So here's another. We're going to use ChatGPT. Please take this sentence, make it past tense, focus on brevity and professionalism. Please, I cannot type. It's all right, Brandon. We got this version. I think I broke ChatGPT. I don't know what happened. Brandon, this is your fault. ChatGPT is down. Someone call Batman. I don't know who do we call if ChatGPT is down? What's the other one? Bard? Stop generating. Please help. What? Man. It's broken. See the difference there? That's what we're going for. Interviewed users to gather information about issues and guided them through diagnostic procedures to identify the source of errors. Now it sounds like a highly paid Deloitte consultant, lawyer guy wrote that. All right. Yep. And then the same thing here. Like it's almost like you're like, I really care about all this stuff. And then I did some stuff as a help desk. Same thing here. Again, we want to make this sound as professional as we can. I don't know what you're responsible for here. Like responding to queries on the phone, via email, or through remote access. How many people, what kind of remote access, right? Responded to user inquiries concerning technical issues related to software, logons, password resets, phishing through phone, email, and through our remote access tool, whatever it was called. And then that one's not bad. Like training other staff. How many staff? Ad hoc training, formal training. I trained 32 junior kids that we hired as interns, right? during my time in this position, I trained other staff, wrote standard operating procedures. Like, I don't know if you did any of that, but like, we can beef some of this up so that there's also not this weird discrepancy between like, I really care about these jobs and I spent time writing these bullets and then I did some of this shit, because that's how it reads. It's very strange. This was my first job and I hated it, is how that reads to me. And then I got to do cool stuff, or cooler stuff. All right. What is it? It's 9:35. We got to keep going. Brandon, we got to keep going. Who's up? Where are we at? We did Hamid's, Brandon, John McGrath. I don't know, John, if you're here. Pennsylvania. Where is Chester County at? Is that northern Pennsylvania? I'm originally from right outside Harrisburg. Most of my family's still in like Mechanicsburg. This A+ right here. A+. All right. I don't know how I feel about that. Chat, how do we feel about this? I want votes. I kind of like it. Part of me doesn't like it, but I kind of like it. Two pages. That's good. Yeah, I think it depends. Like, I think this is it's a very military thing to say, is how it strikes me. It's a very, I find that it's a very military thing to say. And if this was the civilian version, I definitely wouldn't lead with it. If this is getting you results within like the DoD military governmental realm, then keep going with it. But maybe have a different version, see if you get different results. So I'm a blank seeking a blank. You have all the elements here. I am a 20, right? So I am a 20, or I bring 20 plus years of fluff words. What do you do? Personnel management. Okay, so this is not cyber at all. Wait, no, is it? Holy crap. Jonathan, are you here? Jonathan, you got to join the chat. I got questions. This might be the last one we get to. All right, you need to join because I have questions. I want to understand what we're trying to do here. How do I invite you to chat? I think you need to click join or ask to join. Tom, how does he ask to join? Yeah. Jonathan, you should have a request to join. Top right of the corner on your screen. We didn't do this yet with a lot of other people because I was trying to go through some of these last ones pretty quick. Not asked to share, asked to join. Oh, is it asked to share? Okay. I clicked on you. You were there for a moment and I clicked on you. Yeah, try that again. I'm going to actually stop sharing my screen. Okay. Oh, you're here. Perfect. Okay. Boom. All right. Maybe I can't share the screen while you're on here. Okay. Give me the 411 on your resume and your situation so that I understand more what I'm looking at.
Yeah, so 21 years, getting ready to transition out, and I can't define exactly what it is I want to do. So that's part one of the problem. So what is it you say you do here? Right now, what I do is offensive cyber operations.
Okay.
I have been down at the fort, started in TAO, and have basically moved up the chain, most recently in CNMF, Cyber National Mission Force, building out the newest task force.
Okay. All right, cool. That makes sense. Okay. Are you in VetSec? Are you in the Slack too? Because I think we're going to want some people to help you dive in there.
Yeah.
Okay, so there is that resume channel. There's a lot of people who are really good in there who can probably help with some of this. And again, you have a very militaristic version of it right now, which I think is okay if you are, trying to transition out into that whole DoD contractor world or GS world.
No, I've been trying to look at all my options, and actually,
Okay.
I have been trying to define what it is I want to do for a year, and haven't made a ton of progress. I did the commit foundation stuff; they were super helpful.
Okay.
I've been active in the VetSec, trying to listen in, and I watched all the videos on resume stuff. But in the way of like nugging this down, I mean, what I like to do, I like to be the person who's sitting down with the customer, teasing out what the requirements are, understanding those requirements, and bringing them solutions they didn't think they could have.
What you just said should go in that professional summary. Like at least as one version of it.
Okay.
The other general advice I would have you actually been looking at jobs, like going and like looking at what jobs are available.
Yeah, I had actually had a job lined up with UBS to be their red team lead, and that fell through with the Credit Suisse piece. And then I had some other things lined up, but everybody's changing the goalpost at the last minute, and I'm not going to throw any companies under the bus, but like I had hybrid situations for both Fort and the Pentagon for 2 or 3 days a week, which I was willing to do. But when it gets to 5 days a week, I live in PA. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, I think there's probably a couple different general rules, and it sounds like you're on the right track, right? I definitely think you have like some individual contributor red team skills. You probably have some team lead red team skills. You probably could teach some of this as well. So that might be something if you haven't really considered that yet. And then just general technical program management roles within like the DoD world.
Yeah, I've done a lot with like DARPA as well. So being able to help bridge those gaps and find the solutions is definitely a good place. There's a number of things, and I'm happy to take mine offline if it's easier for folks. But
yeah, no, I mean, it's fine. I mean, I think there's other things you can kind of think of as well, like MITRE, Carnegie Mellon SEI Institute might be something to take a look at if you haven't looked at those organizations yet. MITRE is often hiring for some things for their attack team and for some of their other stuff. So that could be something to look at as well. Yeah, so I mean, I think some of this is going to be fine. I think you have the guts here. I think there's too much right now in it, with it being sort of like a generic, all-encompassing version of the resume for the one I'm looking at.
Yeah, and that's down from like a 5-page other resume that I have. So
that's great. I mean, if you sent me this resume and like you had the qualification I was looking for, I would probably interview you, or I would choose to move ahead with the interview, which I think is good. I think like trying to tailor it for a couple different things may be really helpful if you're like, coming up against like the ATS just isn't screening you. But it sounds like you've made it to like where you've had offers, which I think probably speaks to the fact that I think the resume is pretty good.
Yeah, I would say that unfortunately, those have all come from my network and conversations, not my resume.
So let's talk about that for a minute. I always encourage people to use their network. I think the last 3 or 4 jobs I've had is due to people that I know. People hate to hear that is often the case. So what can you do if you're in that situation? I'm going to talk probably about some general stuff. Jonathan, if you also want to try and talk offline, we can talk. You should have my email. I've put in the chat.
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming on to explain that, but let me go on a little tangent here for a minute.
Sure. I can drop if you want me to drop too. So.
Yeah, that sounds great. Thanks.
Okay. Thanks for your time.
Yeah. So a lot of people are like, I can't get even an interview. Like my resume is not good. I can't even get to the recruiter. The recruiter passes to the hiring manager, and I'm not getting not getting to the hiring manager. I'm not getting an interview. So blindly applying on a company's website and hoping you hear back is the least likely way of getting a job. I don't care whether you're entry level or senior, it doesn't matter. When you are job hunting, it is the time to use your network. And people are like, well, I don't have a big network. How do I get a network? How do you get a network? Perfect. Thank you for asking it, chat. Go volunteer somewhere. There are hybrid and virtual and in-person cyber things happening all the time. Join VetSec. If you're a veteran of like any friendly, like allied country, free to join, right? So it's not just like the US, it's not even just like Five Eyes. So join VetSec, ask questions, build your network. I just joined Google. Google has like a secret VetSec channel in Google. Like we just hired the 10th person into the group Monday. So like I already know like a whole bunch of people who I didn't even know that they worked at Google. In addition to other people I knew who were on the mandate side already that I did know through work. Yeah, there's 10 people now. There's more people in VetSec that work there that aren't in the chat group, but like there's a 10-person group now. I probably spilled the beans and Jake is going to have me executed now. So anyway, that was very helpful because I also was able to ask questions like during the interview process, during the compensation screen, like during all that, I could ask a bunch of questions to people to like get information. So you probably have a relatively local B-sides. There's B-sides Philly. I think there's even a B-sides Harrisburg now for the person I was just talking to. If you can get down to B-sides Charm, I have every single year missed that one so far. B-sides Northern Virginia. I'm hoping B-sides DC gets stood back up. There is like B-sides in almost like every country in the world. ISC Square chapters. You don't have to hold an ISC Square to go to your local chapter and join. You could join ISACA, ISSM. There's probably community cyber things related to like community colleges, job fairs. But you can also, volunteering is a very good way. Like just volunteer to do anything, hand out sweatshirts, register people in, because then you don't have to be like a weird person and just randomly talk to strangers, which I know is not always something we're good at. I am an introvert that plays an extrovert on TV. So like volunteering and being involved in the organization was how I like managed to meet people in the cyber world once I stepped outside of the skiff and realized there was like a whole new world outside of the skiff. So sometimes volunteers can work in-house, but I mean, like if you're trying to get a job in IT or cybersecurity, you want to build your network in those areas. So you really like want to try to target organizations, nonprofits, whatever it is with IT or cyber as much as you can. But also just building your network is very like some people might want to join like the local chamber of commerce or something. Like there's all sorts of things like even at a county level. So if you're really struggling, especially to like break in or pivot into cyber, like again, your first job is probably not going to be like a red teamer at Apple, right? But could you like do something and get something, some kind of experience on your resume that helps you get around the like, well, I need to get a job, but I need experience, but I need a job, right? So like, could you look local through your connections that you've made because you're going to these events in person, or maybe some of them are virtual, and be like, you know, hey, I don't know if you remember me. I saw that your company has a job. I, you know, was on Facebook. Like think local for some of this, especially when you're just starting out. Yeah. I mean, if you can get to DEF CON and all the big stuff, that's great. But, you know, there's an expense with that. If you are a student, there's a lot of student scholarships to go to things as well. So if you didn't know that, then like, look, if you're a student, like look at student scholarships for like Black Hat, for B-Sides Vegas, for the Diane Initiative. You know, and then there's other things that's happening, like Cyber WarCon is coming up. It's really expensive though. I don't know if they have discounted tickets. I think they're sold out right now. But like there's so many things happening in cybersecurity. The ISC Squared like national whatever thing is happening right now. So I don't know if they have discounted tickets to get to that. So like using your network and telling people and your friends that you're looking for this type of a role, being active in Discords and Slacks is going to be critical. You will always get better results job hunting doing that than just applying on a website. one of the things that I did was started volunteering in cybersecurity career villages, which I built a network of cybersecurity recruiters. So like my network is not just like people in VetSec that happen to work at Mandiant or Google. It is also like some of the best technical cybersecurity recruiters that are like running cybersecurity recruiting events. Right. So like, how can you build your network to help you into the future is like critical, right? So that you get invited to things. Some people are really good at speaking, right? Could you speak at an event? And you could also list like, oh, I gave this talk at my local B-sides about, you know, this AppSec thing that I broke or whatever, right? So like, that's another way to meet people. If you give a talk somewhere, people are going to come up and talk to you after that. So I gave a number of talks early in my career and like tried to build my network that way. And then I kind of pivoted into just volunteering to help run the events instead of talking on stage, right? So I'm in 4 Discords, 4 Slacks. None of that is for my work. None of that is for my work. That is nonprofits and other things that I'm a part of to help build my network and for me to give back. But like, it's very beneficial when I am in the job hunt phase for me to have this very large network of people. Or as a hiring manager, right? How many people have I hired at Buzan? Well, like, one, I needed cleared people, but like also I have these networks because I would much rather try to hire someone who I know or that I've worked with or that they were a volunteer at some other event or I know somebody that can vouch for them, because hiring people is scary as shit and it is very problematic. Hiring managers, when we make a decision to bring someone onto the team, like that is a huge decision. There's no training for it. I have 0 training for being a hiring manager as either a federal civilian or any of my contractor jobs. 0 training for hiring managers. So when we make that decision and extend an offer, like that's a huge amount of responsibility because when it does not go well, it is very problematic. When we bring someone on and they really didn't have the skills or they said they were going to be okay, but then you bring them in and the commute's too long, there could be any number of things. So I would much rather be like, oh, hey, John, I know this person is looking and I know you said you were hiring. Here's their resume. I worked with them a couple years ago. They're really good. Right? Other than the resume, it's that internal referrals, talking to people, using your network is hugely beneficial. I don't care whether you're still in like the DoD cleared space at Cyber Command or whether it's out in the commercial sector, right? Can you volunteer? Can you get your name out there? Can you build your professional network and get other people to be like, oh, I heard you were looking. I've got a friend who's also looking in that area and maybe they'd be a fit. I can get the resume over to you. And if that's it, like, I don't even have to know that person, but if someone I know said, hey, I work with them, they are pretty good, you should take a look at the resume, that is so much better for me than just like pulling someone who applied on the website who I don't know. So I'm going to give that other person a chance before I will give like a random applicant a chance as the hiring manager, because at least I sort of know somebody who sort of vouched for them. All right, so we have got a couple minutes left. I don't think I'm going to get to any other resumes, but I will try to answer any other questions in like sort of like the last 10 minutes we have. If anybody has any other questions that we have not quite sort of covered yet that I can try to give some guidance on. Anything else? So remember, when you are working on your resume, I want it to sound like a Deloitte lawyer has written it. Use ChatGPT on the individual bullets if you're struggling. Impact, metrics, size, scope, scale, what you were responsible for. Those are all critical things to keep in mind. Some people use like the STAR methodology, which I'm not going to remember what it is now off the top of my head. Somebody's going to post it in chat before I can Google it. Situation, task, action, result is another one way to think about it. But like size, scope, scale, impact, what were you responsible for? Tailoring your resume is critical. Use your network. Let people know you're looking. Let people know what kind of roles you're looking for. Yeah, but Chris, just try to volunteer somewhere. You don't have to be a cybersecurity expert to volunteer. You can help run an event, right? Just general volunteering, like help get people registered, help hand out t-shirts. Like all of these in-person events run on volunteers, all of them. And it is really, really hard to find volunteers, and really hard to find volunteers who actually show up at the event the day of and like can do stuff. When we have really good volunteers, I will bend over backwards if I know that person is looking for a job. Like if that person is like a kick-ass volunteer, even if they're like new to the field, if I could rely on them, we could give them a task, they could go do it. I didn't need to like wonder where they've been the last 4 hours, right? I'm interacting with that volunteer at the event. I'd be like, all right, that's somebody who like deserves a couple minutes of my time at some point. I know they're looking. Let me pass their resume along and see what I can help them. Yeah. Because also, like, we've got volunteers that are like introducing speakers. What better way to get to know someone to them? Like, if you're comfortable to like introduce the speakers, like there's speaker ops at all of these events. If you're technical enough to like help run AV equipment, that is like huge. Can you help run a CTF, like with the CTF team, and make sure they've got like Wi-Fi connection at the event center or wherever it is? All of this stuff is like so critical. And there are never enough volunteers that are reliable and that you can count on at all of these events. It's like always the same core 10 people doing everything. And it makes running all of the cybersecurity events really difficult. Yeah, there's like, I mean, you got to think about it. Like even VetSec, like we are looking for, I think, a social media person right now for a nonprofit. And you could list, I am a social media person for a nonprofit that has 6,500 members or whatever we've got. Like, because the volunteer stuff can also go on the resume, even if it's somewhat related. Yeah. I'm doing what I can, Tom, right now, trying to help. So anyway, like a lot of organizations need all these people. Like we've got like Discord mods for the Diana Initiative. We got people maintaining the website. Like if you can maintain a website in like WordPress or something kind of basic, but you're still looking for your first job, there's places for you to contribute that can get stuff on your resume that helps a nonprofit. Guarantee it, a nonprofit in cybersecurity. So yeah, grant writers, women in cybersecurity always need people. Women in cyber jitsu always needs people to help them run stuff. Like there's all sorts of places. Use Twitter or whatever we're going to call it, Mastodon. A lot of people are on Blue Sky now. There's plenty of places to volunteer. And if you're not sure where to volunteer, get on your social media and ask, hey, what cybersecurity places need some volunteers? And I'm sure someone will help you get pointed in the right direction. All right. That's going to do it. If you are here and you are a veteran and you still have questions, you can reach out to me. I'll try to make some time for you. But the VetSec Slack has a ton of people who are helping with resumes all the time. A lot of our stuff that's pinned in that channel is helpful as well. If you still need these slides and you don't have them that we went over today, let me know, because there's a lot of other resources that I link to. And if I can help out and on the other way, let me know. But if like 50 people all email me tomorrow, it may take me a few days to get back to everybody. But I was happy to be able to contribute some time today. I think we saw a lot of good questions, and hopefully we're able to get some people pointed in the right direction, even if we didn't get to your resume. We had too many resumes this year. But thanks, everybody. It was great to be back. I'm around if you need me. This weekend's kind of busy, though, so if you do reach out to me, don't be mad if it takes me a couple days to get back to you. And please join us tomorrow for like all of the crazy sessions that are happening. So I've got a whole bunch of stuff I hope to be able to watch tomorrow. We got a lot of really great talks lined up on both Friday and on Saturday. Thanks, everybody.